Good evening, and it's so good to see everybody. We always look forward to these recognitions, as well as a full agenda, too. But we'll go ahead and Trustee Hall lead us in invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Right. Please bow your heads. Almighty and merciful God, we ask your guidance and blessings upon this board, our students, our parents, patrons, our teachers and administrators, as we are assembled here this evening in the common pursuit of this great nation's wealth, our children. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you.
Good, and thank you, Trustee Hall. So we'll officially go ahead and call our meeting to order. And this is a regular meeting of our Northside Board of Trustees. Board would like to take just a brief moment to go over some of the rules for conducting our meeting. Now, the order of business is set out for a meeting in the agenda. And one item that you may have noticed on the agenda is the consent agenda. This includes items that are considered routine and of a recurring nature. All the items listed on the consent agenda will be acted upon in one motion. Now, if there's any consent agenda item which anyone would like to address, make sure that you sign up to that item, and we'll pull it from the consent motion and discuss it separately. The purpose of our meeting is to conduct board business, and for that reason, it is held in public. It is not a public forum. However, we do provide the opportunity for audience participation. If there's anybody here that would like to address the board regarding our citizens to be heard portion or any of the other agenda items, we ask that you fill out that sign-up sheet that's located at the front of the room. We do this so that we don't look over anybody that may want to speak to the board. Is there anybody here that didn't have that opportunity and want to sign up to speak to the board? It's interesting looking at these faces. Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead, and if we get to that part of it and have citizens signed up, we'll review the rules for addressing the board at that time. So we'll go ahead, and start a meeting, and if the board is okay, we're gonna change the order and do the recognitions first. Is that okay with the board? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, that's exactly correct. Mr. President, members of the board, we have two special groups that we'd like to recognize. So, and then we have another special activity at the very end of honors and recognitions tonight. So I'm going to ask the board if you can join me out in front of the dais. And like I say, we'll go ahead and get started. I know that Ray Galindo, our Deputy Superintendent for Administration, is going to kick us off with our Northside Leadership Academy recognitions.
Y'all look so serious.
Mr. Blunt, trustees, Dr. Kraft, my name is Ray Galindo, Deputy Superintendent for Administration, and it is my pleasure to present the members of the 23-24 Northside Leadership Academy class for board recognition. Before I go on, I also want to thank Lori Gallegos, who I know who was here earlier, with all her help, as well as the admin team in putting not only tonight's presentation, but also just the program itself together. So, for the past 49 years, Northside has had specialized training for future leaders. Next year, actually, obviously, 50 years. Originally, we had the AIM program, the Administrative Internship Management Program, primarily geared toward principals. This program then developed into the Northside Leadership Academy, and in the last 10 years has helped develop the next generation, not only of principals, but of directors as well. NLA is a long-year program that focuses on core competencies as they apply to school or department leadership. The admittance process is rigorous. In addition to an application, participants are required to complete a problem-solving exercise and then finally undergo an interview before they're accepted. So at this time, we'd like to recognize these future leaders, the Northside Leadership Academy for 23 and 24. So I'm going to ask each graduate, if you will, to come up. They'll present me with their card. I'll announce their name. They'll shake your hands, go back to their seat, and then later this evening, we'll get a certificate, such as this one. I was asked to model it. There you go. Each of them will receive one of these. So with that said, if you will, Northside, come on up. We have Amanda de los Santos from Vale Middle School. Daisy Ponce from O'Connor High School. Alan Villarreal from Boone Elementary. Michael Silvas from Vale Middle School. Mackenzie Fulton from Jordan Middle School. Justine de los Santos Moran from Fields Elementary. Arlinda Castillo from Bernal Middle School. Manuel Ayala from Harlan High School. Laura Huntington from Harlan High School. Ramses Escobedo from Harlan High School. Gloria Vargas from Marshall High School. Brandy Shoemaker from Michael Elementary. Steuben Elementary, I'm sorry. I'll talk to the writing team. Shelby Blackman from Taft Middle School. Michael Dickerson from John Jay Science Engineering Academy. Jessica Barrera from Pease Middle School. Lesford Dixon from CCA, our program coordinator from there. Nancy Garcia, Brown Station Associate Principal. Sean Simmons from Glen Oaks. Adam Salem from Rawlinson Middle School. Johnny Fair from Stevens High School. Barbara Bloomingdale from Rudder Middle School. Jeanette Navarro from Rudder Middle School. Billy Logwood from Insight. Crystal McEwen from Langley Elementary. Misty Granberry from Bernal Middle School. Lauren Pompa from Callison Elementary. Jacqueline Morris from Mernon Elementary. Lindsay Kent from Helotes Elementary. Marina Rodriguez, Allen Elementary. Sandy Cantu from NAMS. Diana Alanis from Carlos Kuhn Elementary. Eileen Mervish from Nichols. Yuriana Gonzalez from Hatchet Elementary. Erica Cedillo from Martin Elementary. Brandon Tate from Steuben Elementary. Evelyn De Leon Garcia from Carlos Kuhn Elementary. Misty Lambert from Baylau Elementary. Stephen Gearhart from Holmes Insight. Tiffany Watkins from Jefferson Middle School. The last one. And Adrian Heiston from Jordan Middle School. Mr. Blunt, Dr. Kraft, trustees, that concludes our NLA. Looking forward to seeing all of these folks as our future leaders, both as principals and directors. One more round of applause, yes. Dr. Kraft?
Well, this is truly a really special group. In fact, we were just looking at some historical statistics, and most of, if not 99%, I believe, of our principals that are currently serving across our 132 campuses have gone through Northside Leadership Academy. So, and 2 trustees. So there's a statute of limitations, I believe, Dr. Duran. I'm not certain, but again, thank you guys for your dedicated service. This is obviously all volunteer time, and so we appreciate it so much because we understand the importance of investing in future leadership, building capacity, and like I say, the development of our future leaders. So one more round of applause to our Northside Leadership Academy. So we've also got another truly unique group that we're so proud to honor and celebrate. These individuals are really, would say, our inaugural class of our Leadership Northside program. As you recall, this program was developed last year and really was designed for one central purpose, and that is to empower community members to become advocates and champions for our students, our staff, and really the entire district. So today, we have the opportunity to recognize their commitment, growth, and really just their service, again, to Northside ISD and their community. When we were discussing and envisioning Leadership Northside, really our goal was really very clear. We wanted passionate individuals with tools, knowledge, and insights needed to understand really the complexities of the education system today that obviously you all know all too well. Again, we can't emphasize enough how much our students, our teachers, our staff need advocates who truly understand the challenges that they face across our 7,500 classrooms. So our participants this evening, who you'll have the opportunity to meet here momentarily, began attending monthly classes actually in last January. We put them through the rigmarole of learning about various departments. They received legislative updates, of course, from yours truly. We even took them on a bus tour, so they had the opportunity to, it was an air-conditioned bus, but it was a bus to see some of our facilities like the police station and the activity center, of course, here. This was really a lot of fun, culminating event. Los Leones, of course, our mock course fair to learn about a wide array of the choices available to students. They had the opportunity to visit that, I believe, at Marshall High School, if I'm not mistaken. And so I really want to just thank each and every one of these individuals, again, for investing their time, energy, and effort in this very unique program. It's really a true testament to their service as a dedicated community member and really to ensuring that we have a very bright future going forward. So we're going to recognize these individuals, which I think you will agree their leadership speaks volumes. And so on behalf of the entire district, congratulations to our graduates of the Leadership Northside program. And I'm going to go ahead and say the inaugural Leadership Northside program. We look forward to their continued support and, of course, what they're going to continue to contribute in supporting Northside ISD students. So tonight, we are going to officially name and celebrate them as Northside champions, and we will present them a certificate of completion and a lapel pin that only our true Northside champions will proudly wear. Now, what's kind of unique about this lapel pin, I'll just go ahead and, am I stealing your thunder? This was actually designed by this graduating class. And so you'll have the opportunity to see it here momentarily, but pretty unique lapel pin. So at this time, I'm going to ask Nicole Franco, and I do want to acknowledge Nicole Franco and Diane Ely. They do a phenomenal job. Stood this program from ground up, and I think that our graduates will attest, our champions will attest that it's truly a great program. So thank you so much. I'm going to introduce Nicole Franco, and I think she's going to go about the introductions of our Northside ISD champions.
Good evening. I'm happy to report we have 16 graduates. 10 of them are with us tonight. These are folks that are district attorneys, engineers, PTA presidents in our district, and several of them had conflicts tonight. We had one graduate whose daughter is actually being welcomed into the National Honor Society, so obviously that took precedent. So we'll make sure they get their certificates and their lapel pins. And so tonight, 10 of them are with us. We'll go ahead and start. First is a Northside graduate, Jonah Espinoza. Martha Graves. Brian Hamner. Michelle Harrison. One of our very own teachers, Elizabeth Lewis. Ruben Martinez. Retired Northside teacher Sandy Pacheco. Miriam Rodriguez. And Veronica Zayas. Okay, so graduates, if you'll come back up, they'd like to take a group photo real quick. Thank you. Oh, Homer's is right here. There we go. Oh, Dr. Homa Guevara. Oh my goodness. He wasn't in line. I'm so sorry, Dr. Guevara. I apologize for that. He wasn't in line with a graduate card like graduation, but I do think that like we already have a board member from our class. That's awesome. Wow, sorry. All right, join for a... He's a really good student, by the way.
One more round of applause for our Leadership Northside graduates. And yes, Dr. Guevara, he finished the completion of all the coursework, so we apologize. We have one more recognition. For many years, the district has held a district-wide Decision of Respect Day for students K through 12 and staff to promote anti-bullying in our schools. The initiative was led by Elizabeth Flores, Director of our Counseling, and all of our campus counselors. On October 4th, we will hold the 13th Annual District-Wide Signing Day for students and staff. Counselors have been equipped with the training materials and lessons for the classroom presentations that teach necessary skills to our students to promote a safe, respectful, and healthy school climate. Trustees are asked to sign the Decision of Respect certificate as a sign of support for the program, and I will sign on behalf of the staff. So with us today, I believe Kimberly Ridgely, Dr. Kimberly Ridgely and Elizabeth Flores are with us, and so we are going to go about the signing of the Decision of Respect for, like I say, October 4th, 2024, if you'll join me.
Okay, y'all ready? So we're going to be moving on to start our superintendent's report and the rest of our agenda. And I'll talk a little bit slow because I know some of y'all may want to leave at this particular time, but you don't necessarily have to. So this would probably be, if you got to leave, this at an appropriate time. And thank you all for joining us, and congratulations. We're very, very proud. Thank you all. What was the total number?
38, I think,
38? Okay, wow.
that were here.
Yeah, the total.
We have about 40.
Oh, okay. Wow. Wow.
132 campuses,
Is that how you, 32 cameras? Wow.
132.
Oh, you mean that we have? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're going to be added as they were turned in.
Okay. They're all citizens or any item? Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and continue with our agenda, and we'll start with our superintendent's report. Dr. Kraft.
Well, Mr. Blunt, you mentioned superintendent's report, and we cleared the room almost. I don't know how really feel about that, but gosh, it seems like it's. I told Ms. Saldana just a minute ago. It seems like it's been a little bit of a whirlwind. First and foremost, to answer the question, one of the things that we're doing with catching up with craft is Jason and Keith we're traveling out to locations, campuses, departments. And they're using some video coverage to make it a little bit more interactive. And so, like I say, in your Friday letter, but also on our webpage, you'll see each weekly edition linked. And so that's what the camera that you saw this evening on the stick was really for. So we're creating digital content. It's been a lot of fun. I think that the staff has been pretty overwhelmingly enjoying the 6 to 7 minute recap, and so, of course, a lot of celebrations. We're continuing to watch enrollment data. We're right at 99,696 students, it puts us about 600 students below our projection. At the same time, we're still going to continue to work on some pre-K initiatives. That's really where we've seen, like I say, the largest drop, and so I think there's going to be some opportunities to pick that number up going forward. We've had a great kickoff to our football seasons, marching band, of course, tennis, all the fall sports are well underway. I will say also, just based on correspondence from many of our patrons at our Thursday, Friday, and Saturday events, I know you probably have seen and have heard a lot of the same. It's very, very appreciative of the video boards. While we're still working out some kinks, again, I can't brag on our own communications team and really the athletics department for not only the creation of content, but really learning on the fly how to operate a pretty complex system. So I think it's gone really, really well thus far. And of course, we're looking forward to incorporating students here in the near future into that learning experience. We had a great September 11th remembrance ceremony at Marshall High School. Chief Ball, who is the Bernie Assistant Fire Chief, was our keynote speaker, and I thought the kids did a really, really nice job with that remembrance celebration. We kicked Project Acorn off at Los Reyes. Malia Soler, and Isaac Esquivel, of course, HEB Teacher of the Year last year, kicked this STEM event off, and so we're really looking forward to. I want to brag on Los Reyes. Their teachers presented their garden project, and it was pretty phenomenal. A lot of work went into it. We also had last week our Citizen Bond Advisory Committee meeting, and so it was great to have our community members come back and see the progress, particularly with the 2018-2022 bond projects, and of course more information will be forthcoming at our next building committee. I also want to just provide a quick accolade to our Insight mentors. We welcomed our mentors, many new mentors back, and of course this is to work with our juniors and seniors through Insight at Holmes High School, and so it was great that, like I say, we had that many individuals, adults, and of course, district employees that want to serve as mentors. In fact, I'm looking around the room, Chris Trejo being one, so thank you very much. Had a unique experience, a really nice experience at Leak Elementary also this past year. They were recognizing child cancer awareness. Declan De Leon, and of course his mom, who is an employee in the district, a reading interventionist actually, of course Ms. Garza, the principal, elected to really recognize the importance of childhood cancer. And I say Declan De Leon, he's a cancer survivor as a 4-year-old. So being in pre-K and seeing them sing and really get the morning started, and just it puts things in a different perspective. And of course, you can imagine how much his mother, Ms. De Leon, really appreciated the campus's, Leak Elementary's campus's support and recognition. Yesterday we had our pillars recognized. We had a really nice little reception, and again, we appreciate all those that helped put this together. This was our, of course, Northside Education Foundation pillars that we will be recognizing here in the month of November at the gala. So I know that many of you attended that, but I thought it was really a nice community outing and a nice event. Talking about NEF, we do have our employee giving campaign well underway, and that will be extended through October 4th. And so it's already got a great inertia behind it, and so we're looking forward, like I say, to being able to distribute some of the funds that are raised back to teachers for innovative classroom grants here in the very near future. We had 2 KINS 5 recognitions, so I want to just real quickly shout out to Melinda Valdez, our STEM teacher at Beard Elementary. She was over the moon surprised. Ms. Freeman, I know that you were out at Beard with us, and it was a lot of fun. It really was, to celebrate with Ms. Valdez. And I'll come back to the last one. I just, again, want to really brag on our 4 elementary campuses that were in recipients of the Student Leadership Award. This is through the Texas Elementary Principals Association, Leak Elementary, Esparza Elementary, Scobie, and Ott Elementary. And then also our Purple Star designated campuses. If you remember, the Purple Star campus designation really is a program for campuses that go above and beyond, like the creation of a website for military transitioning families, having a mentor-mentee type program for students. And so we have, I can't even begin to name the entire list. We had 3 pages. We have over 3 pages of Northside ISD Purple Star campuses. So again, congratulations to all of our campuses and our counselors who really put in the effort to make sure that transitioning military families are taken care of. And then, of course, we've kicked off Hispanic Heritage Month. You probably saw on one of the slides, or several of the slides, and so it's going to be a lot of fun to visit campuses and see all of the festivities that are associated with, like I say, Hispanic Heritage Month. Our video moment, going back to a KINS All-Star celebration, one of our Holmes High School senior volleyball players, Olivia De Leon, whose mom also works for the district in our HR department, had the opportunity to be recognized at Holmes High School. I guess it was one early morning just a couple of weeks ago. And so tonight we're thrilled, I believe, to celebrate with Olivia and some of the Holmes High School students in our video moment. You'll get a little sneak preview of what all went into that celebration. So that being said, video moment.
The students over at Holmes High School love a good celebration, especially when the celebration is for one of their own.
I feel very excited. I feel very honored.
Local news outlet KINS 5 was there to present varsity volleyball star Olivia De Leon with the next All-Star Athlete Award. In honor, varsity volleyball coach Laura Suarez says Olivia truly deserves.
Olivia, she epitomized integrity on and off the court.
Olivia says this was the last thing she thought would happen when she started the year.
No, not at all. This is not something that I even, it never crossed my mind.
She says she was humbled by the show of love and support.
I feel very honored. I feel a lot of love right now, being surrounded by all these people.
Suarez says it sets a great example for the team.
So they can see, like, with hard work and dedication and, being able to be a leader, which they can do as well.
This was no easy road for Olivia. It took a lot of hard work and dedication, both on the court and in the classroom.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've done on the court, off the court, it all paid off, and I'm being recognized for it, and that feels great.
She's a great athlete, she's a great student, she's a great teammate, she's just an overall great person.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations to Olivia. Again, it's just an example of so many of our students that work so hard to attain their goals each and every day. And of course, they have a lot of help through some pretty tremendous coaches and staff. So without anything else, unless there are any questions, Mr. President, that finishes my report.
All right, thank you, Dr. Kraft. Next, we'll go to our board members' reports. Sure, board members do. Who wants to begin our board member?
Yeah.
No, we're just sort of winging it.
Mine works.
Oh, you does? Oh, well, not really.
Oh, the buzzer.
Dr. Duran, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank you, Dr. Kraft, for acknowledging Hispanic Heritage Month this month that runs from September 15th through October 15th. And thank you to all the schools doing really neat things to highlight our heritage. I also want to give a shout out to the athletics department for honoring America's heroes this week. So from September 26th through the 28th this weekend, you can get in if you're a military or first responder to any of our athletic events with the free admission. So that's really nice. So bring everyone that you know that's a first responder or military. I also want to pivot a little bit and invite any teacher that wants to earn continuing education credit to the dual credit conference held at Region 20 on October 5th. It is a Saturday from 8:30 to 3 p.m. and it's free and you get a free lunch. So Alamo Colleges is hosting that, and also all of the school districts in town are invited. You can visit the Region 20 website for more information. I also want to shout out to an organization called Soy Latina, and it's for girls ages 15 through 18 that want to develop their leadership skills. I'll give the information for Monica to put in the website. If you want to develop your leadership skills, it's a free organization. It's called Soy Latina, and it was created by Lisa Coleman. So thank you for doing that, and that's all I have for speak.
Thank you, Dr. Ron. I'm just going to go, yeah. Trustee Harrell?
Thank you, Mr. Blunt. A couple of things. I was just going to highlight the Purple Star Awards. What is so remarkable, I don't know if you know why it's purple, and it's really because of the Purple Heart is the highest honor that a military veteran or a military person, right, can receive. And so this is the highest honor the military offers our schools. And last year, and thanks, Barry, for this. Last year, we had a small number, which I thought was a really good start, but we had 105. So if you're 3 pages, I don't know of anything else that goes from 10 to 105. That's phenomenal. And, if you were reading the news yesterday or listening to the news, we now have more military being deployed to the Middle East, and it's not a political statement, it's a reality. And growing up that way, every 2 years, your father or your mother or loved ones or friends or family were moving or being deployed. And it is its own form of stress and trauma. And so thank you for the schools for recognizing that it's an additional group of kids and families who need our love and support. And so I'm just like over the moon. My mom's over the moon. My dad in heaven's over the moon. So literally, right? All of that's wonderful. I do want to just remind everybody and our trustees that October 7th is a deadline to kind of flood the HEB nominations for Educator of the Year. That now includes counselors, principals, right, schools, districts, and it's a phenomenal thing just to be honored. Educators would just, that's one of the greatest thank yous. Whether they go on to win or not, it is a great way we can honor our educators, and it's a fast deadline, October 7th. Another thing I've been kind of harping on is, at least on Twitter and to my friends, family, and colleagues, is, getting the vote out. I can't tell you how to vote. You're always welcome to see me on a Saturday or Sunday, and we can talk politics. But as a Northside trustee, I can just say, please, please get out and vote. And there's a great organization that's really empowering young people. It's called Youth Do Vote. And they can actually be judges, and we have the day off at different precincts and voting sites and get paid for it. It's a great experience for a young person. And so it's youthdovote.com. The other thing is let me make sure I get the date right, October 19th and October 17th, Raise Your Hand Texas is hosting candidate forums. And that's the best way I tell people to inform your vote, is really getting to know the candidates and the policies and see which fits your life the best. So I have extra cards on that. That's October 19th for House District 118, and then October 17th, House District 121, and it's at Raise Your Hand Texas website. Just a special thanks to Bolt Elementary. One of my dear friends passed away. She had been president of our senior class at John Marshall High School, and we're getting ready to have our 50th class reunion, and she passed away almost a month exactly to the day before our reunion next month. And so Bolt Elementary came to the celebration. Many of the teachers did. And she always said she never got married. She said she wasn't a good flirter. But she never got married, but her children were the Bolt Elementary children, and her family was the Bolt Elementary faculty and staff. And so I hope they know how much they mean to her older sister, who's still alive, and to Robin while she was alive, and how much it meant that the school was named, the namesake is after her father, whose classroom was a garage where he turned the lives of many young men around. And they all came back when we were doing the namesake discussion to say how much that meant to them. So they're also, we decided to not have a very formal event, so we canceled that, and our money's going to be used to buy buddy benches at Bolt Elementary, but also a cement bench in an enclave at John Marshall, and plant some trees. So she was a real special person, so you can tell how our class feels about her. And anyone who wants to come to our class reunion on October 10th, it's open to the public. So anyway, and then the last thing, and I was hoping, I don't know if Kim Ridgely, Dr. Ridgely, is still here. She's on a planning committee, a citywide, countywide planning committee. There's a mental health summit on November 4th, and I'll get it on our Friday letter for, they're actually, the superintendents were made aware of it, but when I called the other day, they hadn't thought of inviting trustees. So I'll send you the link if you want to register and go to it. It's an all-day 9 to 3 thing, that lunch, but it's city leaders, city practitioners, mental health experts from this area all coming together. I don't have the exact agenda, but I just know the forum, and I look at the people, and it's everyone who cares about mental health and our kiddos in our schools. So that is it. Mr. Blunt, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Hall. We'll keep going. Trustee Salcido?
Yeah, just real quick on that Purple Star campuses. I was reading up on it too. Yeah, there was 3 pages. I did count 105. What caught my eye was there's only 541 campuses with that in the whole state. So we got 105 of those. So that's all right.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a nice way to look at it.
Yeah, that's it. Just
That was a lot. That was almost a drop the mic, but well done. Okay. We'll continue down, Trustee Duggan.
I too want to recognize our coaches. The seasons have started, and they are working to build our young men and women into great citizens. And so we thank all our coaches, all our band directors, our dance team, pep squad, all these groups that go out and perform week after week. And they just get better and better every week, and it's so nice to see so many of our kids out on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays. The NEF reception last night was exceptional. For me especially, it was so much fun to see some of our ex-home students who had been pillars at some point and how well they're doing. And so that's something that we need to be proud of, because those kids are graduating. They're still my kids. They're graduating and going on to do great things. And I'm looking over at Chris. That was one of ours, and now look at where he is. And that's the way I felt last night as I was talking to each one of them, where they are now and how well they're doing. So I was very happy to be there last night. The 9/11 remembrance, those Marshall kids do a great job. Maybe next year some of you can show up. It's usually like at 7:45 in the morning on 9/11, and it's a beautiful tribute and a beautiful program. The video cameras, the kids are just loving that, so are the parents. And those video operators, wow, we went in there to watch them one day, and they're amazing to see how they're running that whole video program. So very proud of them. The Apple Awards go out October the 4th, the first round. If any of the trustees can go, it's going to be the Apple Awards for the new teachers. They'll be getting their apples next week. And then the Heroes Week this week, any of our first responders, again, military free admission at the games this week, so please be recognized there. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Trustee Guevara?
Just want to give a quick shout out to Nicole again, and to Diana. Thank you very much for coordinating Leadership Northside. It was a great initiative, great overview. We had a good group of people that are ready to get out there and advocate for the district. So it was well worth it. I was proud to be part of that. And just to let you know, Nicole, that the national championship game is on January the 20th. Just we joked about that a little bit. The first class was the day of the national championship game, but thank you so much. It was great. It was efficient. Great overview of the district again, and we have a bunch of community leaders again that are ready to get out there and do some good work for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Trustee Freeman?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Blunt. A great big shout out again to Ms. Valdez, the STEM teacher at Beard. Her response was just priceless. I don't think she could have been more surprised. And her kids, this was a STEM class. I think they were third or fourth graders, fourth. And the KENS 5, somebody had asked the kids if they had any comments, and this one little girl just went up there and she's my teacher and posed, and she was right there in front of the camera. So it was just it was really a delight, and you could tell that she had a class that when she conducted her class, everyone was engaged, they were paying attention, and it was just, we saw her in a lesson and surprised her. So kids were great. The pillar reception, thanks to NEF for doing it, and thank you to Lineberger who sponsored that event. I know this is the first time that they did that, and it was an opportunity, as was said, to have the pillars meet each other, and we met some of the new pillars of 2024. They were there as well, so that was a great event. And congratulations to esports. Esports had had their kickoff event. It was an opportunity for parents and kids to meet the sponsors at each of the schools. They had some interaction. They were able to play some games. Something new this year, they have a vintage area where they have, old style games, the little Nintendo games and Game Boys, and real interesting. They said that was there for the parents who come and watch their kids, and so there was, I think, some friendly competition going on there when when I was there. If you haven't watched an esports tournament, I would encourage you to go. It's real interesting to watch these kids, how they participate as a team and work together. And there's a lot of strategy planning. So I think you would really enjoy that. So I encourage you to find out when we're doing those. It's on our Northside website under esports. The tournaments are publicized. Thank you, Mr. Blunt.
Good, thank you. And I have just a couple items. I think the board knows it's officially called what, Texas Education Conference is upcoming this week here in San Antonio.
Tex Ed?
Tex Ed, yeah. I assume that's Tex Ed Conference. So that'd be one opportunity for our superintendent, our board members, and others to engage with those across the state, continue our training and education. That's so vital and important. A couple of things related to it. Y'all know when you sign in and get your name tag, they have what they call ribbons, right? Is that what they're called?
Ribbons.
Yeah, the ribbons. Some have like years of service. Some may say LTASB, a couple of different ones. We now have a Bexar County one for trustees.
Nice.
Yeah. So wear that proudly once I figure out how to get it to you. But nevertheless, wear that proudly, okay? I'll be fortunate. I'm actually doing 2 presentations for different organizations. In my role as president of Texas Caucus of Black School Board Members, I'll be talking about the achievement gap. It's similar to what I did during the summer. I added a little bit more to it, some additional information. But in the afternoon, I'm joining other area associations from Dallas and a couple other areas for the Bexar County School Boards Coalition, where we just talk about how you can do things from a collaboration, from an area sense. So got those both. You don't have to go to those, but just to make you all aware in case you hear anything. Okay.
Mr. President, when you were talking about the conference, today I was reading, there's a time that the boards can all get together for their picture, and if all 8 of us are there, we're going to get recognized on the last day. So,
so they'll do a picture of you and then they'll show everybody last.
Yes.
Okay, so let's see if we make it.
yes, it's the superintendent and if all of us are there, and we have to have the picture to prove it. Well, you just get recognized as 100% attendance.
Okay. All right, we'll see if we can figure that out. Okay, thank you. Okay. The other one I had, and you all may already know this, as you know, we ask for and get a lot of information about different events and activities. One thing I hadn't realized this year and now, last year also, boy, when you join a bunch of PTAs, you get a lot of information on invites. So I do encourage us. I know a lot of us do join the PTAs, but the more you join, it's amazing on how much information they actually put out. And the process is really good in terms of easy to join, and then once you do that, so encourage us all to join as many and support our PTAs as possible too. And the last one I have, y'all remember, some of you that were there may remember at the our new Teachers Academy, our new teachers. I spoke for the elementary, and Dr. Kraft was a little bit shocked when I gave him my email and asked them to send me an email just so how they were doing, establish a buddy, check in on a buddy, et cetera. I did get a couple.
Nice.
I didn't get 100 like you thought, but I got a couple. So it's good to hear from some of our new teachers that say, hey, Bobby, I tagged up with my buddy that you set me up with that day, and we're doing fine. And so I hope to hear from another, I said about another 6 months to keep them going. And I think that completes our board reports. Right? So now we're ready to go into our citizens to be heard. So let me just read our instructions for citizens to be heard. So we believe citizens to be heard is important and meaningful, and we will listen to what you have to say. We value your opinions, although, and this is important, we are restrained by law from taking any action. Address your remarks to the board. Confine your remarks to an NISD policy or practice. You'll have 3 minutes, and at 2 minutes, we have our board secretary will hold up the yellow card. And then at 3 minutes, our board secretary will hold up the red card. That's when we ask that you wrap up your remarks. And we emphasize, please don't make any personal attacks on individuals. Okay. Okay, Dr. Kraft. I think we have 3 citizens.
Yes, sir. We have 4 signed up. First returning the form is Chuck Williams.
Don't let it throw you. I'm Chuck.
That's all right. We're good.
Good evening, Dr. Kraft and Board of Trustees. During the last week, a parent that previously stood before the board had voiced concerns about the state of security for Evers Elementary, Jordan Middle School, and Warren High School. They had then started posting videos online in an attempt to gain media coverage of specifically the elementary school's alleged lack of adherence to security protocols. I have kids in both the elementary schools and the middle school, and the high school is in my community footprint. I was upset to see an adult trying to expose perceived vulnerabilities of my kids' school in an open forum to be possibly exploited. I wanted to see for myself if there was validity in the claim. And I'm a regular volunteer at my kids' school, so I have a background check, and I spent the next several days after seeing those badging in and working door duty. I held the door, greeted children and their corresponding adults, and when the time came to transition to a closed campus, I closed the doors and directed anyone that needed to be signed in to the proper area to do so. I performed hall sweeps and helped out with making sure parents exited as they should. Evers follows protocol. Upon completion, I had a very few low-cost suggestions that I already spoke to the principal about. They're just best practices, potentially to add to the toolkit. We're allies working together to help our children. At Jordan, one of my middle schoolers is in a battle right now, and I cannot say enough good things about her team. As a parent, I feel supported. I know I can reach out to anyone at any time, and I am talking about everyone: admin, teachers, IT, the nurse, the coach. I even have somebody in the cafeteria I can reach out to. I cannot tell you guys as a parent what that means to me. One morning, I took this picture. The child's face is not shown for privacy, and I brought a picture for you to keep. But if you can't see it from here, it's the principal of my kids' elementary school, Rosanna Guajardo. She's gently reading a book to a little boy who was struggling with separation anxiety. It touched my mama heart to see, and if a picture is worth 1,000 words, this speaks volumes to me. As a society, we are placing a huge burden on our admins, our teachers. They're charged not only with the physical security, but now we have, more than ever before, we're pushing on them the emotional, the physical, and mental of our safety as our kids as well. But we're continuing to cut the funding and not giving them the resources to do so. We task them to physical, and it's no wonder they struggle with keeping up with the changes. I want to tell you firsthand from this parent, I see my teams at my kids' school working really hard with the resources that they have. Thank you for allowing me this chance to speak.
And thank you.
Mr. President, can I ask her name again since
yes.
it wasn't Chuck?
I do go by Chuck. It's Chuck
do
Williams. Yes, ma'am.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it. Okay, Chuck
My
Williams.
big girl's name is Charlie, and if it's okay,
I love it.
Yeah, she'll get
Yes,
that.
yes.
I should take care of that right there, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Chuck.
Next signed up, we have Alicia Kelly.
I hope those few moments made you all feel very uncomfortable. As I said in ASL, my name is Alicia Kelly, and I'm a nurse and teacher. I'm here to discuss the systemic issues that I have seen that not only create an unfair learning environment, but also major safety concerns for both staff and students. Let me start by saying that these issues have been brought to the attention of the Deaf Ed Department, Spec Ed Department, CT, and both administrations at LMS and Marshall High School. In April, I sent emails about a student in a health science clinical class that would need equipment for proper accommodations. My emails were not taken seriously, and her ARD meeting was held without discussing these issues or even including a health science teacher. The requested items have been denied by each department, with CTE even stating that they were unnecessary for a health science class. The requested items were a Bluetooth-capable stethoscope that could link to her cochlear implant and an AED with visual cues. This student so far has been excluded from learning manual vital signs and is the only person in her class that has not been able to take the BLS hands-on certification. Asking a deaf student to use a regular AED puts the patient at risk for unnecessary shocks and compressions while risking the deaf student being shocked as well. Additionally, having no visual AEDs on campus puts the deaf staff at risk for not being able to respond to emergencies. Please keep in mind that all our deaf staff are in the same office area. This student is now at risk for not being able to join her classmates during clinical rotations because of the equipment not being purchased. In addition to those failures, this student was pulled to the office for 2 class periods and told to color when her teacher informed the office that no interpreter had arrived when her regular interpreter was out. I know you may be thinking this all only impacts one student. However, there's more. A hearing student was hit last year directly in front of the school during the school day. Numerous reports of deaf students having to be pushed or pulled out of the way of drivers on campus has been made. However, there's only 2 small signs in the front of the school designating we have deaf individuals on campus. There are no signs near the bus loop, football field, or softball fields, or the main roads. Finally, there is no alert system in the school for an active shooter or lockdown. Deaf students and staff have been found in the hallways during lockdown drills on numerous occasions because the only alert is an audio announcement over the intercom. The lack of correction of these items shows a blatant disregard for the safety and well-being of the deaf and hard of hearing students and staff at what the district claims is the designated deaf campus. Lack of education on deaf and hard of hearing individuals seems to be at the forefront of these issues. So let me clarify. Having a hearing aid or a cochlear implant does not restore hearing. Imagine being underwater and trying to listen to a person on the other side of the room that's what they experience. I ask that the board look further into these issues and act swiftly before tragedy occurs. I also beg for you to consider how you would feel if your deaf child was being ostracized from their program or your spouse was working at an unsafe location. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next signed up, Melina Esperita Oscar.
Good evening, board members, trustees. My name is Melina Espiritu Azocar, and I am the proud president of Northside AFT. We are the only local union representing teachers, counselors, librarians, and support staff in the district. We are the second largest union and affiliated with AFL-CIO in San Antonio, proudly representing the hardworking people of NISD. We often hear that politics have no place in schools. But let's be clear, public education is political. Teaching is one of the most political jobs that you can have. And the entire public education system is shaped by political decisions. Right now, Texas public schools are under attack. No increase in per pupil funding, educators being villainized, voucher schemes threatening to defund our public schools. Northside AFT is fighting back to protect public education. Our members knock on doors, make phone calls, and support candidates who will fight for public education funding, fight for freedoms, and fight for safety. We need leaders who will defend our schools, and I ask the board, where are you in that? While school boards claim to be nonpartisan, now is the time to take a stand for the future of public education. Northside AFT supports candidates who are pro-public education and pro-worker. You can't claim to support public education while voting against it. You can't say you stand with public schools and refuse to back candidates who won't prioritize funding them. Governor Abbott's holding $6 billion in teacher pay raises hostage for his voucher schemes, and it's unacceptable. This board's political energy should be focused on fighting for what our students and educators deserve, not only at the state level, but also at the local level. Northside AFT will not support school board candidates who refuse to fight for public education or have a history of voting against it. I've asked Trustee Freeman for years to meet with me, but as the union president and leader, and as a constituent of D7 for 16 years, her refusal to meet with me is disappointing. Finally, there seems to be concerns about our new PAC. Let me remind you that in the past, several trustees openly supported a PAC that funded a candidate who ran their campaign on diversive rhetoric. The candidate's campaign literature even stated, "I won't allow woke teachers in our classrooms," further fueling the harmful rhetoric against our dedicated educators. Half this board supported that candidate. Yet when Northside AFT supports pro-public education candidates who stand with working people in our district, there's an issue. This community knows who truly supports them. Northside AFT stands with the working people of NISD, and we will continue to fight for a living wage and safe working conditions for all people.
Last signed up, Terry Zablocki.
This evening in Tallahassee, Florida, there are mail-in ballots that are being counted. I believe the election results could hold lessons for us here in Northside, and specifically after the last speaker, I believe so. February 14th, the Miami Herald headline read, "Miami-Dade Teachers Union has failed its mission." So the current union is in an election against another union, teacher education union. They describe, this side says, that the other union is a partisan political activity, that they need to stop paying their union leaders' salaries they described as bloated, be accountable to the rank and file rather than parent organizations. In Florida, school board trustees are paid. ZipRecruiter says that there's a range of from $18,000 to over $100,000 per year for trustees. Superintendents are elected or appointed. The status quo versus the union that will be nonpartisan and reduce pay to union leaders. So how does this relate to Northside? Well, I attempted to join the Northside AFT last Thursday, and the president, the previous speaker, told me no, I could not join. I was at a public advertised place. The Northside AFT webpage says it was established in 2018. I've served for 25 years as a Northside employee. There's been Northside AFT. The NMPET, the new thing, is a partisan fundraising mechanism. Go look at the QR code. I moved on to the Texas state page. It says, our union is the strongest voice for Texas public school employees. We've been dubbed the most aggressive. Click on that link because it takes you to a $36 t-shirt that features the word most aggressive. I don't want to be associated with an aggressive organization. We are nonpartisan, okay? Union salaries, I kept going. Union.com's newly elected secretary-treasurer for Texas State AFT is the immediate past president of Northside AFT. Salary, approximately $92,000. So, in terms of the issues that are in Florida, partisanship and financial, I'd like to add two issues that I see are relevant to Northside. Number one, last time they ran a slate, and they ran against our current board president, with whom I've served for 25 years. How does an organization that states it supports diversity, equity, and inclusion justify that? Issue 2, 3 weeks ago, Northside narrowly missed having a court-appointed temporary trustee. 3 minutes does not permit for this citizen to be heard. Go to my website, abcdwi.vote.
Okay, that completes our citizens to be heard. All
Sir.
right. We'll go ahead over, and thanks for our citizens to be heard for having your voices heard this evening. And again, we're restrained by law from taking any action, so we'll go ahead and go to our next agenda item, and that's our consent agenda. All right. Is there a motion to come before the board on the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay. Moved and second that we approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, state nay. Okay, good, motion carries. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll go over to our next item.
Mr. Blunt,
I'm sorry.
I apologize.
Yeah.
I do have a question on the school. I know we've already approved the
That's
School
fine.
Boundary Advisory Committee, but there are a couple of places where we have some
Oh, yeah.
blanks, the people that are missing. Do we intend to, are those going to be filled? And one of them I noticed is a school that we're going to talk about later this evening, so. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Good, okay. All right, so next we'll go over to our facilities and operations area.
Good evening, President Blunt, Board of Trustees. I'm here to present a couple items for you. The first item that we have is the construction manager at risk for the building upgrades at John Jay and SEA. This is a project in which we evaluated 3 bids. We conducted 2 interviews. Our designer of record is Alamo Architects, which is represented by Jerry Lammers behind me. And here we are recommending Joris General Contractors be the recommended contractor for this project. I think I have a Joris representative as well, and Mr. Wes Ryan. And so at this point in time, that is our recommendation, and I'm here to answer any questions if you have them.
All right, and this, this one before our building committee. Any comments from the building committee? Okay, do you have anything to add from a building committee perspective? No. Okay. We would have gone through it. Okay, okay. All right, good. So we'll go ahead and, is there any comments, questions from the board? Is there a motion to come before the board?
I move that we approve the recommendation for the building upgrades at JC High School.
Second.
Okay, move to second. Any further discussion? All right, it's been moved to second that we approve the, if you don't mind, can I change that construction manager at risk terminology?
Right, the construction
upgrades,
manager
okay.
for the building upgrades at John J. C. High School.
All right, all those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Good, motion carries.
So I'll add to that this is now going to kick off our design for that project, in which we'll incorporate different department heads, the staff, administration, and even students.
Yay.
So the second item I have for you is a schematic design for the new magnet at Catherine Stenson Middle School. This magnet is a sports medicine magnet. It will give us the opportunity to not only address the magnet, but also add some improvements to the front of that campus and the admin space, which is undersized currently. Our architect of record for this project is Pfluger Architects, and Mr. Raul Yanis will be doing the presentation. At the end of the presentation, we can answer any questions you may have. So I'll turn it over to Raul.
Thank you so much. Good to see you.
All right, guys. Thanks. Yeah.
Hello, good evening.
Evening.
Mr. Blunt, members of the board, Dr. Kraft, thank you for the opportunity to present Catherine Stinson Middle School magnet this evening for you all. So with that, we'll kind of get started. One of the first things that when we started was, hopefully this pointer does not affect anybody, let me know if it does. One of the first things we obviously kind of put together was the scope of work for this project, and it makes sure that it aligned with the 2022 bond that was described. So like Mr. Jacob had mentioned, the major scope of the project is the inclusion of the new magnet school, which will be exercise and sports medicine focused. This also will give an opportunity to provide a new administrative suite for the currently undersized admin area. We're also going to be looking at upgrading the existing AOLE classrooms that are within the footprint of the building. We're also going to be looking at providing an outdoor dining area, really kind of an extension of the existing cafeteria space. And then we're also going to be providing some new canopies up at the front of the school to kind of provide some cover for everyone. And then we're also looking at adding or upgrading the exterior canopy lighting over at the bus canopy. And then lastly, like every project that we start, we always want to look at the perimeter fencing and make sure that the campus is secured. So we'll be incorporating 8-foot-high perimeter fencing. So let's take a quick look at the existing campus to kind of just refresh everybody's sort of memory of if you haven't been to Stinson Middle School in a while. So these are just some existing photos of the campus. The top image is essentially the front elevation of the existing school. That pyramid-shaped roof there is the existing administration area, sort of surrounded by the canopy space sort of around that. This project is a little unique where it's got these sort of bridge pieces that take you from the parking lot over to the front of the school. The image on the bottom right here is the cafeteria area that faces out towards the parking lot. A little brief history of the existing campus. This campus originally was built in 1989. It saw its first classroom addition in 1997, and in 2018, there were a couple of renovations for the science lab, the library, as well as a 5-classroom addition. And throughout the years, there's been some lighting retrofits as well as flooring replacements as well. A general layout of the interior spaces of this campus, right up at the front of the school entry. We've got the administration suite, like I mentioned. Immediately to your right as you enter is a cafeteria space in the kitchen. At the core of the existing campus, we have the library and ALE spaces. Directly over to the left is a 2-story general classroom wing that obviously houses all of the classroom spaces. On the back end of the campus, we have the fine arts spaces as well as the PE and athletics. Taking a little bit of a step back, this campus is sort of nestled in between Brandeis High School, sort of the back end of Brandeis, and the swim center. It fronts Skyhawk Drive, so one of the things that we look at is a vehicular circulation to make sure that there's no issues there that we need to address. This campus actually flows pretty nicely. It enters and exits out of Skyhawk, very similar with the bus loop as well. It's got a single entry, kind of loops back around and exits back out. As I mentioned previously, we're also looking at upgrading the existing chain link fencing that is 6 foot high. The new district standard is an 8 foot high perimeter fencing, so we'll be upgrading that. Part of the process was doing a quick comparison. Like Jacob had mentioned, the current administrative suite is undersized, so we did a quick comparison of that program. Just as a side-by-side comparison of the existing admin spaces compared to the design standard that you would see on a new campus. So if you can see, it's about 2,400 square feet deficient, about a third of what it should be. Overall, in terms of the proposed program for the both the magnet school and the admin area, we've had multiple meetings with district staff to kind of help us mold the program areas for the magnet program itself. So everything in this sort of gold color are dedicated spaces for the magnet school, and that includes general classroom areas. We've got some CTE specific classrooms as well, some science labs, a dedicated admin area, and then we've got the campus administration, like I mentioned prior. This meets the district standards in terms of sizing. And then also we're in this sort of green shaded area, we are looking at updating the existing ALE classrooms to meet those design standards. And lastly is just some of the support spaces that are going to be needed to support the new renovation addition. So let's talk a little bit about the proposed improvements, and we'll start off with the exterior. Like I mentioned, we are going back in and updating the existing chain link fencing. We're going to upgrade that to an 8 foot high chain link fence just to make sure that we're properly secured from the adjacent properties on this campus. We're also providing in this sort of blue area here, that's where the outdoor dining area will be located, so we'll provide a non-scalable fence here as well, just to make sure that that area is fully secured. In terms of the impacts to the physical sort of campus building, there's really 4 areas that we're looking at in terms of addressing and renovating. The administration right up at the front of the building, the magnet school. In this particular campus, there actually were some surplus classrooms, so we actually had the benefit of utilizing those existing spaces that were not currently utilized to repurpose those into the new magnet program. So we'll be able to stay within the footprint of the building. In the green shaded area, this is where the ALE upgrades will happen. And like I mentioned, the proposed outdoor dining area, an extension of that cafeteria space. The administration area is the area that we're kind of looking in doing that full replacement. So the light red portion is kind of what we're looking at sort of removing, and we'll come back in with the new admin suite. Everything else in the light gray is really the extent of those areas, as I just mentioned, that are going to be repurposed. We'll be able to stay within the footprint of the building. As you can see, the majority of the impact will be on the first floor. If we go to the second floor, it's a little bit minimized. We do have a couple of classrooms that will be repurposing, as well as a couple of stairwells. And in a future slide, you'll kind of see we're also kind of incorporating some of the existing science labs that are currently not being utilized. We'll be able to dedicate those to the magnet program. In terms of the new layout for the administration area, so you've got the main entry in here. As with all your new schools, there's a security vestibule, so you'll be able to enter through here, get vetted, and then you'll be able to enter the campus into the sort of a nice open lobby space. Immediately to your right, you'll have the administration suite, and over to the left, you'll have the magnet school, and you'll be able to be greeted through the reception and dedicated admin area for that magnet suite. Up right sort of north of the administrative suite, we have the updated AOLE classrooms with the shared kitchen and restroom areas. And like I mentioned, the outdoor dining area is really going to be, we're going to try to open up the existing cafeteria space and really kind of allow for that outdoor dining space. There's some nice heritage trees out here. We're obviously going to try to save, and that'll provide some really nice shading for the students out there. Just really quickly, as I kind of run through the magnet program, like I mentioned, there is a dedicated admin area, dedicated CTE classrooms, a physical therapy lab. We do have a magnet collaboration space sort of in the core of the magnet school, as well as some English language arts classrooms as well. On this, and this is a little bit of a blow up of that administration area, like I mentioned, security lobby right up at the front, transaction window, a pair of security doors, and then as you kind of get vetted through there, you pass, get into the reception area if you have any business in here, or you can kind of hang a left into the magnet reception area. On the second floor, like I mentioned, really the only areas that we're really addressing are this one dedicated CTE classroom. We are creating, we're removing one of the existing classrooms and sort of opening up that second floor to really allow that collaboration space to have a nice open, tall volume. And as I mentioned, the existing science labs that are currently not being used, these will be rededicated to the magnet program. So really no work there, they're just being reallocated to the magnet program. So a couple of interior perspectives to kind of start kind of showing just some of these volumes. These are kind of muted down purposely just so we can kind of look at the volumes of the spaces. We'll be coming back with interior finishes, colors, patterns, things of that nature as the project progresses. So the view here is of the secure vestibule. So immediately to your right is a transaction window. These are the security doors that are located here. If you notice, there is sort of a lot of glass. We want to kind of provide a lot of sort of visibility in this sort of open space just to kind of help maximize security as you kind of come into this campus. As you enter the campus and through the security lobby, you'll open up into this nice lobby space. We're creating a new sort of stairwell, a little bit more of a monumental stair. But we've got some great opportunities here. If you notice, we do have sort of a nice high volume in here to really open up the space. There's some opportunities on the sort of back end wall to provide some display cases, some seating areas as well, and really kind of have this as a functional lobby. This is a view, perspective view of the corridor between the admin, which is on your left, and the existing library, which is on your right. So again, really kind of creating this sort of tall volume. There's an opportunity to provide some clear story windows up above, bring in some natural light. You can kind of see the monumental stair in the background there as well. So really just trying to open up the space. This is the collaboration space. Like I mentioned, this is going to be located within the core of the magnet school. Again, we're removing that sort of top classroom in here to really kind of allow us this sort of higher volume and really kind of create a really nice space for that collaboration area. Looking at some of the exterior renderings of what this campus can potentially look like. One of the main things that we wanted to obviously focus is this is really a great opportunity for us to really identify and mark that front entry, but also provide us an opportunity to kind of rebrand this campus as well. So one of the things that unfortunately it kind of lacks right now is just having that mark and that statement right up at the front. I think what we're attempting to do here is obviously trying to really provide a mark and identify that main entry. So what we're proposing on that main entry, there's a couple of different opportunities here. We're proposing some perforated metal panels up at the front, and really that it's kind of a twofold type situation. This really kind of creates a canopy space underneath here between this panel and the admin building. But it also kind of provides us with this sort of nice canvas on the exterior. And we just kind of took a quick sort of opportunity on this particular scheme. We're looking at celebrating Catherine Simpson's sort of aviation career. So this could be a potential graphic opportunity up at the front of the school. We'll be coming back to you all with some different options, but this is something that could be definitely help and brand this particular campus. Just a little bit of an enlarged image of that. This perforation panel can really, I mean, really the sky's the limit, no pun intended, but we can really provide any sort of graphic up at the front. There was even a conversation, this obviously plays a little bit of an homage to these sort of old school sort of airplanes that Ms. Stinson obviously flew in her career, but the mascot of this campus is the Skyhawks, a little bit more of a modern day jet. So there is some conversations and discussions about potentially maybe merging those two components. So we're excited about bringing some options to you all. This is a view from underneath that canopy space between those perforated panels and the administration area on the right-hand side, really trying to provide some coverage, some shading for students and staff and visitors that visit the campus. This is a shot of the main entry. Again, like I mentioned, we're really trying to provide a lot of sort of glass. We've got some translucent panels up above, really trying to keep this sort of light and airy, but again, also trying to really provide that visibility to kind of enhance that security. This particular perspective is of the approach onto the campus. Again, really trying to incorporate a lot of the canopy spaces here. Students get picked up or dropped off. Really some great opportunities for them to obviously be protected from the elements as they either get dropped off or are waiting to be picked up. And this is the sort of last shot of the cafeteria courtyard extension that I had mentioned. And really what we're looking at is providing some storefronts from the existing cafeteria space to really kind of open up the space. We're going to proposing to provide a canopy with some fans, some lighting, and there are some really nice trees out here. These are actually existing limestone sort of seating areas sort of around the trees. So we're intending on keeping those, but really just kind of adding on to what's already there and providing some benches, really just some seating opportunities for the students as they utilize this space. With that, I'll just touch on the schedule just really quick. Obviously, we are in schematic design. Should we receive approval tonight, we will come into the next phase of construction documents. That'll take us through the end of December of this year. This project will bid out between December and January. We'll be coming back through building committee and obviously the board in February for approval and recommendation of a contractor. And then we'll have shovels in the ground in June of 25 for a anticipated completion of August of 26. So fall of 26 is we're anticipating this project to be completed. And with that, I'll open up to any comments or questions.
Any comments or questions from?
I do. I have a problem with the outdoor dining area there. Being in front of the school there. parents can come and just bring their kids lunch and pass it through the gate. I mean, I just see a bunch of stuff here that,
Are you talking about from, I think he's asking from a security standpoint?
yes, yeah, definitely.
So one of the, if I may, so one of the things that we did look at, we have a non-scalable fence right up at the front, but one of the, and we kind of took some little bit of artistic liberties there to kind of show the transparency, but what we're anticipating is providing like a perforated panel to kind of screen off that portion of the visibility of that outdoor dining space, really to try to provide a visual barrier of sorts.
I think, did that address your comment? 'Cause this was
Yeah,
also,
yeah, I
what
mean,
he's
I
saying
s-
was also,
it's right in front
somebody
of the
hand
school.
put their hand through and give somebody something through that, that's the other part that I think you're asking about, right?
Yeah, right in front of the school too. It's kind of like, I don't know.
Right, part of that panel would be kind of lining all of the fencing, so it would sort of prohibit that. It's more of a visual and also that physical sort of transaction we would be able to eliminate.
Okay. Anything else, Trustee? Okay, Trustee Hall?
No, I do kind of, and it doesn't have to be now, want to revisit, like, I want a better understanding of the safety issues around that as well. I do love the panel, and I think a couple of us had our kids at Stinson, and so there's been a real rich history about understanding her as a female pilot and all the, challenges and whatever, so honoring that. In fact, when I first saw it, I thought from a distance, it looked kind of like a propeller blade or something, but I don't know if that's what you were going for. It was really kind of cool. But anyway, just some questions later on. I want to reflect a little more on this about some safety.
Okay, absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
For the ALE rooms, now there's 2, but it's just the renaming. We didn't really remove the special ed
No,
room.
we
It's just
actually
renamed.
Correct. We actually increased the square footage of each of those rooms. They were a little undersized currently, but within the renovate or the proposed sort of layout, we're able to actually increase the square footage of each of those classrooms to meet the current design standards.
I like that they're on the first floor. Could you just go back and show us, like, if there were an evacuation, where the exit doors would be the closest ones for those ALE rooms?
Should be, I'll let you know if you can keep going back. One more. I'm sorry, one more. Perfect. So the 2 LE classrooms, they're in the same spaces. They are now, like I mentioned, we're just basically renovating them to meet current district standards. So there is actually a couple of different exits. One is out through here, and there's another one that kind of, you turn the corner in this corridor, there's an exit out through here as well, I believe.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? You got one? On that side, anything? All right.
I think this is more of a Janice question. So Catherine Stinson is one of our dual language middle schools. Will this magnet also afford that opportunity to any students who go? Do you know that at this time?
Well, it absolutely will, just like we, at Jones, at Hobby, at our other magnets, some of those students, they take specific magnet classes, but then they blend in and can take opportunities for CTE, for fine arts.
Okay.
The students at Stinson will have the students at the Stinson magnet will have the opportunity to avail themselves of dual language.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Okay, any other comments or questions? One small one, I should know, but I don't. On your construction complete in August, that's everything, right? Permitting, okay.
That is, yes, we're turning keys over.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right, I know our building committee had a chance to take a look at this. Anything further? or-
We asked a lot of questions, got a lot of answers. We liked what we saw.
Okay, good. All right. And I guess, you've heard some of the safety concerns. I know you had more than that, but other than that, is there a motion to come before the board? This schematic is set for approval if the board so chooses.
I move that we approve the schematic design for the Stinson Middle School magnet for sports medicine.
All right, we have a motion second. Any further discussion? Moved to second that we approve the schematic design as presented. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? One nay. Okay, good. All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Raul.
All right, next we'll go into our human resources, self-funded insurance update.
Yes, sir. So it's hard to believe, but it's already been a year since we migrated, transitioned to a self-funded insurance, partially self-funded insurance plan. So I believe John Bass with McGriff, we wanted to just provide a really quick update as to how we're progressing, because if you recall, with being self-funded, I mean, we really are now in control of our own destiny, per se. But then also, in the subsequent item, look forward as to employee rates for this upcoming plan year. Our plan year, just as a reminder, is a little bit different. We'll have open enrollment period in October, beginning October, and then plan year doesn't begin until January. So it doesn't coincide with our fiscal year nor obviously our calendar year. So, so that being said, we wanted to provide, like I say, an update, quick overview as to where we are with, like I say, our current self-funded plan, and then what the future in regards to premiums we feel like look like for employees going forward.
Good. Thank you, Dr. Kraft. President Blunt, Board of Trustees, thank you. Just go to the next slide. As Dr. Kraft said, this is a self-funded plan. The district and the board deliberated over this decision for a number of years, and I think it's proven to be a very good decision. The plan is performing actually within projections, actually probably a little better than projections. We expect a surplus to the district of roughly $4.5 million after all expenses are paid, all liabilities are assumed. As Dr. Kraft said, open enrollment actually begins Monday, September 30th. And for the at least 3 years in a row, employee contributions are remaining the same. They're not increasing, so that's good. We do have an internal administrative cost, that is stop-loss premium, that will be going up, and I will get into the more details in just a quick moment. Relatively busy slide. Let me just make a few comments. As the plan ends in 2024, we're projecting, again, a surplus of $4.5 million. That's after all expenses are paid, all claims liability has been incurred, et cetera. These are projections, but in my mind, a bit conservative. We're trending the plan at a little over 8% annually, which is probably 200 basis points heavy. But nevertheless, it's good to be conservative. It will add to the district's reserve balance for incurred but unreported claims to now a little over $17 million. Again, these are fully incurred expenses, and so the district should end up 24 in good shape. As we move to 25, we've certainly been in discussions with Ben and Lady Ramirez and HR trying to determine what is the right funding for 2025. And based on our projections, we think the district can keep contributions where they are and adequately fund the plan. And right now, we're sort of projecting sort of a break even for 2025. So that is good news. But as you move down the continuum and as healthcare inflation continues, I think the district will need to be making some decisions in 2026. Those decisions could be plan design changes, obviously contribution increases. We're projecting right now is probably another 5% increase for 2026, so more of just a heads up. There's a lot of time between now and 2026. There's lots that can happen. But again, I think we're on the conservative side, and the plan is performing very well. And then we give you a peek for 2027 and 2028. A lot of plan sponsors that are self-funded, especially governing boards, they want to see what are the outlying years, what may be necessary expenditures in order to adequately fund the plan. This is based on status quo, no changes in enrollment, no changes in plan designs. So we think the district needs to potentially prepare for ultimate increases later in the year. On a cash basis, the district has pocketed significant dollars in the coffers. And Renee and the finance team can certainly vouch for that. But in essence, the plan is performing very well and within our expectations. If you go to the next slide, I want to just briefly talk about stop loss. This is a insurance cost that self-funded employers traditionally purchase. Stop loss is insurance for claims, in essence, above a certain level. In this case, $500,000 per individual claim in a calendar year, and then you have a excess risk protection on an aggregate basis. In the first year of a self-funded plan, remember, your administrator, since you were coming from a fully insured plan, any claim incurred in 2024, even if it's presented for payment today, is the responsibility of the carrier, previous carrier, which happens to be UnitedHealthcare, which is your self-funded administrator today. So in essence, 2024 was a claims year of less than 12 months of claims because of the lag. Now we're moving into a more mature claim scenario, and therefore the liability for potential large claims becomes greater. The district understood this. We proposed it in our projections and valuations, quite common. So the stop loss premium is rising 22% from year one to year two, well within means, within our projections. The district might want to consider a competitively bid process for stop loss insurance next year, but that's something that Ben and his team will decide along with purchasing. But that's a hard increased cost to the district, but again, within our projections for 2025. I'm happy to take any other questions if you like. I'm happy to answer them. So thank you, President Blunt, Dr. Kraft.
Any comments, or Trustee Freeman?
So you said the stop loss was would be increased by 22%.
Roughly,
How many
yes.
dollars is that? Just roughly.
$23,000, give or take. Enrollment is fluctuating. The district had a decrease last year in the number of people covered, and now we're sort of coming back up. We're roughly around 9,800, so we're jumping off at a set point in time, which was 9,850 employees, which is roughly an $827,000 increase. It's a hard insurance cost. There's no question about it. But in speaking with Ben and Letitia and team and our analysis within McGriff, that's a reasonable increase. But I will make the point that I think the district probably wants to go to market next year for stop loss insurance because it's traditional insurance cost.
Anything further, Trustee Freeman? Okay. Any other comments or questions? Let me. I was trying to capture what you said from a big picture standpoint. So to the tune of $4.5 million, correct, this year that you'd mentioned. But then when we looked at 26, I thought you said a possibility we should look at premium increases. So how does those two sort of play each other? We're really in good shape, but we still may have unless we plan that from the beginning.
Sure. The simple answer is that for 2025, we're going to rely on some of that, in essence, excess contributions for claims to catch up. We can't stop medical trend. Medical trend is happening. Medical inflation is happening in our community. It's just a fact of life. We're trending at 8%. Actual historically, the district has trended much less than our projections.
Okay.
But if your contributions stay flat and medical claims continue to trend, eventually you're going to need to make some adjustments in your planned costs, whether it's adjustments in plan design, in adjustments in contributions, or a combination thereof and everything in between.
Can I say it this way, and correct me if I say it incorrectly, but there is some cost avoidance that we're going to have during that time period because of the savings that we're incurring now. Is that correct?
There is cost avoidance. Actually, there's things that the HR team does within the plans, working with your current administrator to continue to trim costs each and every year. Sometimes they're doing mid-year. I'll give you an example. For those individuals on the plan that are on a specialty drug, typically high-cost specialty drug, your administrator, United Healthcare, has a program where they can go and get manufacturer dollars to help offset the cost of that drug. They charge a very small administrative expense for that, but the district so far, or at least the projections in 2024, will net save over $450,000. So that's something the district did that actually is a win-win for everybody. It's a win for the employee because it keeps their out-of-pocket costs down. It's a win for the district because it controls their cost. And frankly, a win for the plan as a whole. So that's just one idea and one example of the continuing tweaking that's HR is doing every year in consultation with United Healthcare, and of course McGriff is, doing advice and consent.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Freeman?
One more question, and perhaps this is for Dr. Kraft. Have we surveyed our employees as to their perception of this particular program? Anytime you change insurance, even though our carrier's the same, the providers may have changed. What do our
feedback?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
That's a great question. From a customer satisfaction standpoint, Ben, we have not surveyed all 9,000 plus subscribers or family members, but typically, and I made this comment to John and Ben just a few weeks ago, typically when you make a change, no news is good news. And so we can try to survey, but I think it's been pretty seamless as far as the transition is concerned. Now, that's not to say there haven't been some formulary changes, generic drugs change, but I have not heard really any negative feedback or concerns in regards to the transition.
No major changes in providers or
Well, and even our plan design was, if you recall, was pretty uniform, and that's what we're proposing even going forward for next year with the next agenda item. Not to jump ahead, this was mentioned at convocation simply because we knew that we were going to try to accomplish this objective, so that, like I say, we're not increasing premiums, and then, as important probably, primary care physicians, specialty doctors, and then formulary as limited a change as possible.
I would concur. One of the big things that was considered was any type of member disruption, and one of the key points that the HR team looked at was would there be member disruption in changing the funding? And if you remember, one of the duties was there would be no member disruption. Physicians are saying the same, the network's the same, plan design's the same, and I think Ben and Letty could probably testify that the service has been quite good. Members don't see the funding change. That's really a risk transfer internally with the district and how they fund their plan.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to cut costs that were in essence being incurred and being directed purely to the provider's profit margin. That's putting it
Any other?
pretty bluntly, no pun intended.
All right.
All right. Good,
Thanks, John.
Thank you for that, for the update also. I know we're going to another area, but yeah, like you indicated, it's actually discussions more than 2 years. It's been discussed for a while for the district to go this route, so it's good to see at least this year the positive news, so thank you.
Well, and it is positive because, at the end of the day, at the end of the month, or every 2 weeks, we know that insurance premiums, particularly those that subscribe, it does impact their monthly pay or bi-monthly pay, excuse me. So to be able to try to maintain flat premiums, which I don't mean to steal Ben and Letty's thunder, but especially in today's health insurance world, is pretty phenomenal, because there is the escalation effect. I think that we can try to be cautiously optimistic in looking and making those projections going forward, but the reality is that there will probably have to be some changes, whether it be plan design, formulary, maybe the reduction of the number of plans. You know, we're pretty unique, and I'll let Ben present here momentarily to provide the diversity of plans that we're still able to provide. Many employers are scaling back to two or maybe three plans, a high deductible plan, and then, you know, I guess a little bit more richer plan. So like I say, we're tracking pretty well, knock on wood, and we're able to provide what I will argue, a very, very competitive and well-rounded plan design right now.
Okay, and again, this one was information. Ready to go to our next area, which is.
Let's look at plan designs. You know, like I say, there's not any changes, and like I said, we just wanted to let you put your eyes on it again, and then we can talk about employer contributions and any other questions that you may have.
So this will look basically exactly what this past year, or this year that we're in now, and the previous year. The only difference is, in what you see in this one, which we didn't have the previous year, was having a zero cost for employee only. So as Dr. Kraft talked about and John talked about, we're going to go 2025 with identical plans. But as you see, we have 6. So, you know, when Karen talked about, you know, just some different ways of looking at things, I know plan design is definitely one of them. And, you know, for 2026, we may not be looking at 6 different plans. It may be something less. So just for you guys to have your eyes on. And then I know in Friday letter also you had the open enrollment. You had the dates and the locations. So if you wanted to stop out and see how that works, it's a pretty impressive operation that goes on for those 3 weeks. And the last day, we're going to do it a little different this year. The last day of open enrollment will be at the Be Well, Stay Well at Brandeis High School on October 19th on a Saturday. So we will have full crew there on that Saturday, and that'll be the last day to enroll. And like we did last year, everybody is going to have to go in and re-enroll. So there will not be a passive enrollment. Everybody must go in and touch that. So you have this for your eyes. So thank you for your time.
Good, thank you. Thanks, Ed. Any comments, questions from the board? All right, that completes that particular area. Ready to move over to our next area, and that's on the administration side.
Yes, sir, Mr. Blunt, Dr. Kraft, trustees. So tonight we bring you for first reading EFB local, and this policy relates to library materials. So with the help of TASB, they've put together a policy that is in line with what we do and also meets the requirements of HB 900, which is new. In addition to this policy, we also have an administrative regulation, Library 10, which again reinforces what the policy has and makes sure that our practice is exactly as what we're supposed to be doing. And so if you haven't already, I'm going to ask that you go to EFB. It's a six-page policy. I'm going to hit some highlights, and as I do, I'm going to ask our subject matter expert, Diana Ely, to come up. And that way, if you have questions, we can certainly try to answer those for you. There's 2 main points to this that needed to be clear as a result of HB 900 and what you may have already heard out there. And that is, one, that we wanted to have clear language in the policy that gave access to the library catalog to parents. And number 2, that there's an appeal process. And both of these have been met, again, with the help of TASB at our recommendation in terms of what this policy looks like. So hit a few highlights. She's there already, but if I may, on page 1 of 6, you can see there that we actually have defined for you library materials. Actually, in the middle of that page as well, we have language there as far as the responsibility of the librarians, the training that they're supposed to receive, and again that the superintendent have an administrative regulation to support this, which we have in Library 10. Then, I'm not going to read them out loud, but they start, they're outlining 1 through 5, the goals of the collection. On page 2 of 6, you actually see the detailed steps for the selection, evaluation, and the whole process for the selection of materials. On page 3 of 6, in the middle there, you can see specifically the parent involvement in the role as far as how we involve them. On 4 of 6, you can see there, and there's legal reference there to EFB in terms of the protection and anything and everything related to inappropriate material if that issue arises. Right below that, you'll see the process, again, numbered for you as far as for any reconsideration, or this again is the appeal process if ever there is someone that wants to bring that up. Notice the language there again, very important. We feel it needs to be a district employee or parent or guardian of the district if indeed they want to bring an issue up that we'll consider. And then on page 5 of 6, as we begin to wrap up here, you'll see language there, as large of a district as we are, as you go through the process, appeals would go to Dr. Jordan, our deputy soup for CNI, rather than the superintendent. He would be the last, obviously, level in terms of any appeal that needed to be considered. And then, of course, the committee, which we also feel is important, that we outline could include even secondary level students, parents, guardians, and so forth. And so then the rest is pretty routine in terms of other type of language needed for the policy and related to library materials. But with that, I'll open up for questions, and already at the podium is Diana, but we feel this certainly is in line with our practice and meets the letter of the law.
Bobby?
Trustee Earl?
Thanks very much, Ray. Hi, Diana. Real quick, and I think you answered it, Ray, but I just want to be very clear. Only Northside parents or guardians and Northside employees can go through the process.
Right.
Okay.
Reconsideration.
Yeah. The other question is, and you may not have it tonight, but about how many have taken part in this, let's say in the past year? How often has this come up?
You mean a reconsideration?
A reconsideration, yes.
We've had very few reconsideration. Dr. Jordan?
Yeah, I would say, Dr. Harrell, this year, well, this school year, we've had none.
Okay.
But over the last 3 years, we've had under 15.
Wow.
And, you know, compared to our counterparts, we have very few.
Thank you. Thanks.
Any other comments, questions? I just have one. Sorry, I missed this till now, but on the reconsideration, it says copies of the form, that last sentence in that area, shall be provided to the school librarian. It's also given to the board and any other staff designated administrative procedures. Am I reading that correctly? I'm sorry, pages 5 of 6, a formal request for reconsideration, that paragraph, and then the very last.
Mm-hmm. Yes. After a request for a reconsideration form is submitted, yes. That will be new, that the form shall be provided.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's provided early on to the board then? I was trying to figure out if the board was a part of a grievance process,
Yeah,
or.
should they be
where do you?
exposed to that information?
No, the way I read this is that if a reconsideration form is submitted, then you would be provided with that information so you would know about it. That's the way I read that.
It says copies of the form now.
We can certainly, Mr. Blunt, to your point, Diana, if, I think it was written more for awareness. However, your point is well taken, that if it rises to a grievance, then you've already been informed. So probably should discuss that with attorneys as well.
Yeah, because this is first reading, so yeah,
Correct.
I'll find out, it's fine.
We can do that. And it is first reading.
Bobby, I had one other question.
Go ahead, yeah.
About going back on the few that we've had the past year, about how long does the process take?
It varies.
Okay.
But what happens is, once the reconsideration form comes in, a committee is assembled, and the novel or whatever the material is that's requested to be reconsidered is dispersed to the committee and they need to read it.
Right.
So depending upon if it's a, it can range from a novel to entries in a database.
Right.
So at the longest time, I would think, month and a half, perhaps. The shortest time, we've done it in as little as 2 weeks.
Right. So what,
Okay, wow.
what House Bill 900 has asked is for us to have a tighter time frame on that.
Okay.
And so that's what you're going to see in EFB local, is a little bit tighter time frame on that. But some of the things have been quite lengthy, like a 400-page book. So,
And have they mainly been books? Because I know our libraries have so many other things. They have maker spaces, they have stations, and like voter registration, all kinds of stuff. Has it primarily been books?
right, yes.
Because I know materials is wide open. Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other?
We'll answer your question and perhaps in Friday letter, give an explanation there, and if or
Or
needed.
at the next meeting.
Okay.
That's fine. That's fine. All right, thank you. All right, so well, thank you for the first reading, and this will come back to us for a second one, okay?
Right, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right.
So boundaries, Mr. Blunt, trustees, so in 12 years of bringing boundaries to you as Board of Trustees, 90% of them have been probably related to opening of schools. This year and this installment, I guess, or this phase, this is the first of probably more to come of us trying to capitalize on capacity at other schools. So not really opening schools, but as we look at our enrollment, looking at schools where we have some capacity and trying to balance enrollment of some of our larger schools. So tonight we bring you two, an elementary and a middle. We'll start with the middle school. And just a real quick overview, the middle school basically that we bring tonight, and T's already at the podium, is to relieve Bernal Middle School. Bernal's our largest middle school, basically, bottom line, with about 1,600 kids. So the plan, as you'll see in just a bit in detail, basically rezones 2 groups of kids to bring that down hopefully to a reasonable number, both groups in the 200 range, in adjacent schools that we feel really keeps the, as much as possible, neighborhoods together and provides relief to Bernal, and uses, again, the capacity at both Luna and Briscoe. So with that, I'll hand it over to T to give you the details.
Thank you, Mr. Galindo. As Mr. Galindo said, I am T. Recor. I'm the Assistant Director of Resource Planning, and I'm proud to present this proposal to you to show relief for Bernal Middle School, overcrowding there. Oh, can we go to slide 7? This is an introductory part that we present to the public, but you guys are only interested in the boundary proposal, so we'll start with that. As an overview, Bernal opened in 2014-15 with a target enrollment of 1,200, and as Mr. Galindo said, it has over 1,600 students this year. That is, as of last Friday, our base day. It's projected to grow to over 1,700 just next year, and in 5 years to over 2,000. And so this is a boundary that we have had our eye on for quite some time. We've known that this is a high-growth area, and we've known that we will be, presenting a boundary change to you, and here it is. It's been growing at about 100, on average about 100 students a year. So as you can see, that is projected to continue. So in providing the relief, we thought we would use available capacity at nearby schools. As you can see, Bernal's boundary is outlined there in red. And Bernal is located on the very southern corner of Northside ISD. So its boundary is the county line. It goes down to, near 211, Petrenko Road, up Tally, and up to, about where Chumley Elementary School has opened. To give you a little bit of a look at the geography. So we'll take a look at the details of this proposal, the effects on the sending receiving schools, and then answer any questions that y'all might have. Next slide. So in looking at Bernal, the nearby schools are Briscoe Middle School, which is in the Alamo Ranch area off of Alamo Ranch Parkway, Volunteer Parkway, north of Wiseman. And then Luna Middle School, which is near Petranco between Military and on Grossenbacher. So those are the two schools that we're presenting. Briscoe is Briscoe has a capacity, a target enrollment of about 1,300. This year, as of Friday, it had 1,250 students. And as you can see over the next few years, that is projected to decline. So it will have available capacity as we move forward. Luna Middle School is a target enrollment of 1,500. And as of Friday, it had a little over 1,100 students. And as you can see over the next 5 years, it really does hold at about that same level, about 1,168 in 5 years. So given that it's a larger school, it has available capacity as well. Next one. So we're proposing 2 areas from the Bernal attendance zone to move into either Briscoe or Luna. Area A is in green, and that is the area north of Tally Road. And eventually, the Alamo Ranch Parkway will be extended from Alamo Ranch to the west and will connect with Gulm Road, where the neighborhood where Chumley Elementary School is. So that will be the northern border of that zone that we're proposing to go to Briscoe. Area B is the southwest and west side of Tally Road, the areas farthest from Bernal, and the areas we're proposing for move to Luna. Next one. In Area A, we go through the neighborhoods one by one. We have on the far north edge of that proposal is Bear Creek. It's a new subdivision, very small, but currently under construction. The Ridge at Thomas Pond is another new neighborhood currently under construction. Riverstone at West Point is a very large neighborhood, and that is the large neighborhood where Chumley Elementary School is opened. And then West Oak Estates is down off of Tally Road, and J Bar Ranch are 2 existing neighborhoods. Those are the neighborhoods from Area A, from Bernal to Briscoe. Next one. Area B is starting at the top left side is Legend Heights Mobile Home Park, Cameron, Becker Ranch Estates Mobile Home Park, Saddle Creek Estates, West Ridge, which is a neighborhood that is not under construction yet, but is proposed. It will be primarily be in Medina ISD, but a portion of that neighborhood will extend into Bear County and be in North Side. The park at Cimarron, down Tally Road, Afton Oaks, Hidden Oasis, Silverleaf, and Elm Valley Mobile Home Park are sort of together off of Ray Leak. We have the Veranda, which is a newer neighborhood across Tally Road, actually, from Cole Elementary. And then we have Gordon's Grove, which is closer to Military, and Monticello Ranch, which is down off of Tally Road near Petranco. So in looking at the effects on the sending and receiving schools, we show in the smaller text across the top that Bernal had 1,612 students on Friday. And across the next few years, it continues to grow. If we, with this proposed boundary change, that Bernal would be 1,278 in 25-26 and 1,343 in 5 years. Briscoe, we said, would decline over the next few years from 1,250 down to 960 in 5 years. And with the boundary change from Bernal, it would grow from 1,472 to, and then 1,357 in 5 years, close to its 1,300 capacity. And then Luna holds steady over the 5-year term. With the boundary change from Bernal to Luna, it would be 1,349 and 1,431, very close to its 1,400 capacity. maximum. Breaking it down by the actual geography, how many students would be included in that geography. From Bernal to Briscoe would be 1254 in the first year, up to close to 400 in year 5. And in Area B, from Bernal to Luna, it would be 209 in the first year and 263 in year 5. The other considerations that the board asks us to look at is neighborhood integrity. We don't split any neighborhoods in this boundary proposal. We keep neighborhoods intact when they're in Northside, and we move them as a whole. We do include all of our enrollment trends, development, which is new housing, and lots, the rate of sales. That is all included in our projected enrollment figures. And frequency of change. We don't want to move students twice in their at any given level, and students from these areas were last moved in 2014-15 when Bernal opened. Recently, the board approved a change to our grandfather option, so Northside will be able to offer students who are currently in Bernal Middle School the ability to stay in Bernal Middle School through the grandfather option. So rising 7th graders and 8th graders, 25, 26, could elect to remain at Bernal. However, transportation is not included for those students, and it does not apply to younger siblings. Transportation, this is a simple one for both areas. Both areas currently receive transportation to Bernal. And if this boundary change took effect, people would continue to be eligible for transportation to either Briscoe or to Luna. So no change in their transportation status. And then we looked at travel distances. We gave actual home addresses to our transportation department for the various boundary proposals. And in Area A, we looked at a neighborhood in Bear Creek, which was 7.2 miles to Bernal, and it was shorter to Briscoe by about a mile. West Oak Estates was also part of that Area A, and we decreased that travel distance by 1.4 miles. Amaron in Area B is in the far north end of that Area B, and we decreased that travel distance from Bernal by changing it to Luna by 1.3 miles. And Monticello was 2.4 miles to Bernal and 1.4 to Luna, so we decreased that one as well by 1 mile. And that's it.
I have a question. For the projections in population, you're basing that from the elementary feeder schools, and then what percentage, or how do you calculate for any new to the neighborhood moves?
Well, our projection process is very well documented. It's very complex. I'm proud to say that this year we came in very close to projection for our middle schools. We were 0.3% off of our projection for this year for all of 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Our projection process does include a cohort survival method for elementary forward. So yes, it does include students at every grade level moving forward through the grades.
And then any new people to move in projected?
We have a yield factor study for any new housing sales. We look at yield factors. Some neighborhoods, especially new, very large neighborhoods, may over-yield. They may produce more students than what our typical yield would be. So we calculate that every single year and project that out 5 years. So we estimate will it over-yield and then come down to normal, which is typical from what our experience is. We also try to evaluate like any loss of enrollment for a new charter school that could be opening in the area. Those are sort of the different factors that might include increases or decreases. New housing sales increases, losses or attrition for other purposes. Thank you very much. Good question. Anything else?
Mr. Blunt?
Oh, I'm sorry, trustee Freeman.
That's okay. I know we talked about this, I'd asked this question when we were presented with this in policy, and I still don't know that I understand. The way, and I spoke with Jacob, these schools were built with the same capacity when we built the schools, and our target enrollment now is different for each of these schools, from 1,200 to 1,450. And I know that we mentioned possibly a programmatic piece. Do we know anything more specific than that as to why these target enrollments are different?
That's a very good question, Ms. Freeman. The target enrollments represent the capacity of that campus, and they were built for those particular capacities. Luna did have an addition of a science lab wing, and it made it larger, but that was on purpose.
And is the capacity with or without portables, T?
The capacity figures I quoted were without portables. It's much, much larger with, in policy committee, we talked about back in the day, you know, there were a couple of different sizes for middle schools based on teaming that is no longer done. So we were able to really build campuses for what we anticipated that population would be. And as things have changed over the years, you know, the building still stands.
I understand though, but as facilities and being involved with the bond, it was pretty standard as we built our elementaries. We went from 660 to 800, and we did that with our. So I just want to confirm that that's, you know, how we got those numbers. But I understand that the addition. I didn't realize that there was an addition at Luna.
Well, for instance, Bernal and Briscoe have 61 and 64 permanent classrooms. Luna has 71.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I think you're getting at the end. I think I forgot when we sort of got away from that, but you're right. At one time, you know, like, and you know this too, the objective for elementary was a 660. Then we realized, oh, we can't do 660, so then it went up to the 800, 880, if I remember correctly. And then middle school, the objective at one time was the 1,200. You know, even though we had some that were different sizes, and high schools was 2,400, but we went away from that as a board some time ago. So I guess maybe, you know, things sort of changed a little bit based on the facilities and other things. But I think that's what you're referring to, right? When we used to have those standard sort of numbers. Yeah.
For quite some time.
Anybody else? Good.
One more comment, Mr. Blunt, before we go to the elementary. So taking a little different approach, we've done this with elementary, and that is rather than have one big hearing at Bernal telling you this is the school that you're going to, we've did this before with elementary, but we're having 2 hearings at the campuses that will be the receiving, if approved, campuses. And so kind of have that lined out in terms of even having principals prepare, you know, what it is, the programs and everything that's going on at their campus. And so hopefully making it a smoother transition, if you will, and if you approve these proposals as presented. So a little more work on us, but we feel it works better, also splits the group to where they go to the school that they're going to belong to. Okay. So
this is a discussion for tonight. One other comment, maybe true for elementary too, on that, in that area, you know, to watch out for. I know we have the travel distance. The travel time is going to be key too, you know, with some of the new roads. For example, Tamarin, sometimes it may take the back road to 211 to get to Bernal, so the time actually may be, I don't know what the difference is, but that's something else that I know when we do it public that they're going to talk about.
That's certainly a good thing to note. We are pretty standard in the way we measure things for our SBAC meetings. We actually go to the transportation department and we ask them to route what the bus route would be from this area to this area. So they're the ones that give us, we don't just Google it, but, and they are, for the most part, traveling down Tally Road to Petrenko Road and then going into the Bella Vista neighborhood to go to Bernal.
Okay.
So.
Oh, nobody goes that back? Okay.
I mean, I Sure, there's lots of ways people could go, you know, but that you know, just in general, that would be the route.
Okay, good, thank you.
I got a question, Bobby. How many magnet schools are we opening next year?
Magnet schools? I mean,
Hobby and who else? Jordan, no?
Next year's
Already
one,
open?
Jordan.
Jordan will be the one next year.
Will that affect any of that,
Affecting
enrollment?
this?
Enrollment part of where they go to Hobby, where they go to Jordan?
Oh, I see what you're saying, as far as, like, bringing students away from. Well, we won't know fully until we see the application process really for the incoming sixth graders, but I can't imagine it would be of such significance that it would really change the overall student population.
Correct, should be minimal.
Yes.
Typically about 150 sixth grade students that would come from all over the district, including the campus where the magnet is located. They'll get, you know, quite a few from there.
Sideline, I know we're running a little bit late, but since you asked that question, because that was our middle school for that area was Jordan.
Yes.
At one time. Remind me.
Isn't it amazing?
Anyway, okay. All right, we ready for our elementary one?
Yes, sir. So this one might seem a little more complex when you look at it, but as Debbie goes through the presentation, really these are smaller numbers. It involves a number of more schools than what you just saw. But basically the goal here is to get students off of buses that we currently have transferred to different campuses, and as much as possible, get them at their community schools. So you might want to ask, well, Ray, how did we get here? Well, utilizing our resources through the years. For example, ESL is not something we offered at all our campuses. Now we're expanding that, and in doing so, are hoping to get more of our children at their community campuses rather than on a bus to the schools where they're currently at. So again, the same approach where we'll have different hearings, but much smaller numbers. In some cases, I think we have 30 and another one 70 children that we want to get back to their community school, and some may already be there. So with that, I'll hand it over to Debbie.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Galindo. And this boundary, the numbers we're going to present here is a little bit different than you're used to seeing. Typically, we show you, just like you saw in the middle school that T presented, our current enrollment, our projected enrollment for the next year, and then the 5-year figure. Because we have a very large number, and I'm going to talk about that in just a minute, of transfers, what we're showing you right now in this presentation is next year's projected enrollment. If we were putting all the students back, all the ESL transfers back into their home attendance areas. So you're not seeing the current year enrollment right now because that includes a large number of transfers. The numbers we're going to show you are where those students live if we put them back in their home campus, and that's our goal, is to work from there going forward. And you'll see right here in the presentation, the biggest challenge, as Mr. Galindo said, is we need to expand where we're providing ESL services in this part of our district and try to get students back into a community school and minimize the number of transfers. In order to do that, we have a very large number of students in the Meade and McDermott area that are currently being served at mini ESL clusters in this general area. And so the goal of this proposal is to look at how can we provide the needed relief to Meade and McDermott in order to allow them to serve all of their own students. And those students then would be in surrounding community schools. And it will allow us to balance the enrollment in the schools that we're going to discuss. Next slide, please. As of last week, we had a little over 400 students from the Meade and McDermott attendance areas that are not being served at their home campus at Meade and McDermott. So that's a very large number, and it has been growing each year. And we've been working with both our admin team and our curriculum and instruction team to look at the abilities to expand ESL in this part of our district. So again, we're going to minimize those transfers, and in order to do that, we need to move some geography out of Meade and McDermott and utilize capacity in the surrounding areas. Okay. A lot of numbers on this slide. Suffice it to say, we do have some available room in Colonies, Glen Oaks, Oak Hills Terrace, and Thornton, the surrounding schools that surround McDermott and Meade. We do have a little capacity in Rhodes, but we're going to talk about how we can utilize that space as well. And in this process, we would be expanding the ESL program to Oak Hills Terrace, to Rhodes, and also to Boone, that's just on the north area off this slide. They're not involved in a boundary change, but we would be adding an ESL program so that all of the schools that you see in this area would all have the opportunity to serve ESL students. If you'll go to the next slide. In this proposal, our goal is to get McDermott to about 660 students and Meade to about 750. And you're used to hearing us talk about, just like in the middle school presentation, a target enrollment. Our goal in this area, because we do have a lot of multifamily communities in this part of the district, and the enrollment numbers from each of those communities can fluctuate from one year to the other. It's very common. So our goal is to get all of the schools in this area slightly below the target enrollment. So we have a little wiggle room, if you will, so that one year an apartment complex increases in enrollment and the next year it drops. We can try to accommodate those fluctuations. Okay? So we're going to start with the McDermott attendance area, and that is outlined in red. I'm very hesitant to use a laser with people sitting in front of me, so the attendance area is in red. It's kind of bounded, if you see just to the right of the name McDermott, by I-10. You can see Huebner just to the north. It comes down along the Babcock area on the far, near the blue area, Babcock and Wurzbach. And so the areas that we're looking at moving out of McDermott and into the surrounding elementary schools, we tried to look at areas furthest from McDermott, closest with travel distances to the surrounding schools. And so area A, that is in yellow, is an area that would be recommended to move from McDermott and into Thornton Elementary School. Area B, the green area, is recommended to move out of McDermott and into the Rhodes attendance area. And then area C is recommended to move out of McDermott and into the Oak Hills attendance area. Excuse me, the kind of gold color area D is actually recommended to move out of Rhodes and into Thornton. So you may ask, why would we be moving areas into Rhodes and then out of Rhodes? There's a couple of reasons. One, it has to do with the numbers of students in those geographies. It also has to do with travel distances based on the way transportation would route families. Again, we're trying to be as aware of those kinds of things as possible, and this actually does work out in the best way in the end, and we'll show you those numbers in just a moment. So again, we're taking those recommended areas in this proposal out of McDermott and into the surrounding areas, and then out of Rhodes into Thornton. If you'll go to the next slide, please. We've identified the areas here, and I'm not going to take the time to read each and every single one of these. Suffice it to say, some of them have large numbers of students, some have moderate numbers, and some have no students. And it is based on the variety of the different kinds of residential areas that are in this area. We are very close to the medical center area, so some of these complexes are apartment complexes or condominiums or townhome projects lend themselves more to professionals in the medical areas, and we don't see students. And others are very, very highly concentrated in students. And there is a combination of both single family and multifamily, both apartments, townhomes, and condominiums. Okay? When you look at what does that do, actually, if you'll go back to the slide, one back, Monica, just a moment, it's probably easiest to view this as I talk about the numbers. So the area A, as Mr. Galindo mentioned, some of these are not really big numbers, even though there's a lot of residential areas. Area A, the 5 communities in Area A, currently has about 41 students that are attending our north side schools. So that area would move a projected 41 students. Area B, the green area, would move a projected 69 students. Area C, going into Oak Hills Terrace, the blue area, would move a projected 29 students. And then area D, the gold area, moving from Rhodes into Thornton, would move a projected 131 students. Okay? You can go on to the next slide, please. One more. The result, what does that do to the current numbers and the projected numbers at these schools? So McDermott, and here we didn't talk about a target enrollment. We're actually showing you the capacity without portables as it's calculated this year based on the way schools are utilizing those classrooms. So McDermott can hold about 761 students without portables. And so you can see we had exceeded that number.
McDermott, after all these boundary changes, it would be projected to be about 662 students, slightly decline over time. That will put us almost 100 below projection, below the capacity without portables at McDermott. McDermott has a very volatile enrollment from one year to the next because of fluctuations in apartments. We felt like we wanted to create that cushion. I could very easily stand here next year and tell you we filled that 100 wiggle room, if you will, and some years we won't. So we felt like that was adequate space to try to accommodate the students that could potentially be in the remaining McDermott area. The Thornton attendance area, the capacity without portables is 711 students, and currently we have about 500 students in that area projected next year, so we have some available capacity. With the moves, both from the Area A that we moved into McDermott, that yellow area, and that gold area coming from Rhodes into Thornton, would be about 662 students. So we've utilized that available capacity, but again, tried to keep it below its max capacity without portables. In the Rhodes attendance area, their capacity without portables is 568 students. 573 would be projected next year. It's pretty tight as it is, and that's where you see we are moving one area, B, from McDermott into Rhodes, and then that area D from Rhodes into Thornton. And again, it allows us to utilize the capacity that we have at Thornton without exceeding the capacity at Rhodes. So Rhodes would be projected to be about 537 students next year, slightly below that 568 capacity without portables, and then does decline over the next 5 years. In the Oak Hills Terrace situation, Oak Hills Terrace is 485 students is their capacity without portables, and their 404 is their projected enrollment. So we do have a little bit of wiggle room there, so we want to utilize that, and that is the area C that we recommended in the proposal to move in from McDermott into the Oak Hills Terrace. It was a fairly small area, but again, we're looking at all the ESL students, et cetera, and trying to make the best arrangements for all the families in those areas so that they can stay in their community school and minimize the need for transfers. Okay? And then we'll look at the Meade attendance area. And so the Meade area is outlined here in red. On the bottom kind of edge is Callahan Road and intersects with I-10. You follow I-10 up. There's some little jigger-jaggers at the top end. And I will use my pointer just to point this out. This area right here is actually already part of Colonies North. And this little area is also Colonies North. So the Meade boundary comes just like that, kind of carves out a little finger, if you will, and then comes down south of Fredericksburg and then Wurzbach Road and Babcock back to Callahan. So when we looked at the Meade attendance area, it's very densely populated where there are individuals living, and then you've got chunks of medical center communities in the area. So we looked at Meade and we said, what are the areas furthest from Meade and furthest from Meade and closest to Colonies North and Glen Oaks that we could utilize? So the top area, letter E, that's in the pink area, is in this proposal would be recommended to move from Meade into Colonies North. There are actually, and I'll show you the neighborhoods in just a moment, but there's only 3 complexes there, and there's about 150 students. So it's very, very densely populated. The area F, there's actually 2 parts. If you'll go ahead to the next slide, Monica. You can see in area F, you've got the kind of the north end is all medical centered, so there's not residential. And then you've got a ring of all different kinds of residential areas, and then in the center is the Oak Hills Country Club. That's why you have a big blank space there. And if you look, that's communities 4 through 23. That's a whole lot of communities, but a lot of those have 0 students, 1 student, or 2 students. There's the majority of the students, there's approximately 143 students projected in Area F to come from Meade into Glen Oaks next year in this proposal. Of those 143 students, about 4 complexes serve the majority of those students or house the majority of those students. There are 11 of those complexes have 0 to 7 students, and then a couple have a few more. And some of them are single family areas and some of them are apartments, again, condominiums and townhomes. So a variety. I've already talked about the numbers there. If you'll go on to the next, the effects on the sending and receiving schools. So Meade's capacity without portables is 815 students. And as you could see, we're well over 1,000 students living in that attendance area right now. With these proposals, we would have Meade at projected to be about 765 students next year and declines to about 726 students 5 years out. Again, slightly below that capacity without portables of 815, so we've left ourselves a little wiggle room. Colonies North, and in those of you who are there, I'm going to use this as an example. You see more kids there right now than 349 students. But again, remember, we put everyone back at their home campus. Their capacity without portables when construction's finished should be 566 students. And this proposal would have Colonies North projected to be 493 students. So just under 500 students next year and just over 455 years out. So again, we've left that wiggle room. Glen Oaks, the capacity without portables is 524 students, and currently they're projected to have 342 students next year. We have capacity with the boundary change area F from Meade, that large purple area that I showed you with all the dots, but only concentrated students in certain areas, would be about 485 students next year. Again, slightly below that target enrollment, okay? Just as you heard in the middle school presentation, we do look at community integrity. We're not splitting any neighborhoods. We do take into account all of the enrollment trends, to Dr. Duran's question earlier. This is no different than the middle school, except you don't have the very large, fast-growing area of development, but we do follow all the areas. There's always some infill projects, a new apartment coming up, things like that have all been taken into consideration in this projection process. And then frequency of change. None of these areas have been moved for boundary changes since 2006-07 with the opening of Meade. Other than that, would be prior to that. So this is not a second move for any of these areas in a short period of time.
Debbie, I have a real quick question.
Yes.
Sorry, I was waiting for you to take a breath. You are the most energetic. I'm like, okay. Real quick. So I know those areas have either Catholic or Christian charities that are bringing a lot of our recent immigrant families in, and I know some of the areas or some of the apartment areas are specifically for those families. I just wanted to make sure that if that's part of the decision making because of the support in the areas and the support from the various nonprofits that take care of our recent immigrants, that's part of this consideration as well.
Sure, and there are actually 3 agencies doing resettlement. So we're part of a quarterly refugee resettlement group now. There's RAICES, in addition to Catholic Charities, and Refugee RST, it just renamed, and Global Refugee Services, I'm sorry, it just got renamed. So those 3 agencies are placing families in a very strategic way. When you may remember many years ago, there were about 3 or 4 apartment complexes, and they were primarily placing the families in those areas. That's shifted as affordable housing has become more of a challenge in our community as it has in other communities. There are a few complexes that do tend to have larger numbers of students, but those shift over time. There's an apartment complex that's newer in the last couple of years, and it actually has more students now than an older complex. Some of that is based off availability. Some of it is the landlords working with the agencies and the type of funding that those families come in with. The agencies are actively placing in an apartment complex in the Steuben attendance area and in the Villarreal attendance area. And so I guess the net is spread much further. And many of the schools in this area, there's an apartment complex in the Rhodes attendance area. Many of the schools you're looking at are serving some of those students right now. So we're not taking people further from where they live, right? We're trying to get them back to a more of a community school thing, to your point. So is Meade going to no longer serve those families, or Colonies North or Glen Oaks or McDermott, where those families have been? No, not at all. It may be, they may serve more, they may serve fewer, or sometimes some of those families may be on transfers and they're not in their community school. And this plan, we feel, is will be a benefit from the transportation standpoint for families because they should be able to attend their community school and not have to get on a bus to go to a different school, if that answers your question. So it's very difficult to pinpoint the exact location where they resettle families. That is a moving target at best, which also comes into play just like some of these, some years you'll see an apartment complex, you may have 100 elementary school students. The next year it's gonna have 45. The next year has 80. The next year has 30. And so families make decisions to move based on a lot of different things, and sometimes those families are exactly the same. They're resettled into an area with rent assistance for a short period of time, and then those families are responsible for finding low-income housing or whatever their financial means are at that point in time, just like everybody else. And you know, they tend to like the medical center. They call that their community, their restaurants and grocery stores and places of worship. And even though families are sometimes placed in the Northeast School District or in San Antonio ISD or other areas, many times when their initial rent assistance subsides, they choose to come to our community or our area because that is their community. So we're not targeting any of that. We looked at all students and all ESL and program needs. And yes, that was one of the considerations, but not the only.
I just want to say that I think it's really great that we're not having to now move those students on a bus, but that they can stay home. So I think that's a great benefit. And to Mr. Galindo's point that if we do approve this today, there will be meetings, community meetings, and I just ask that we provide translation services and that we have transportation available so that they can ask exactly what that would mean for those individual students and what that looks like for their child to get to school, because a lot of them may not have
I
transportation.
think when we finish this, we'll come back and try to address that a little bit as we wrap up, if that's okay.
Can I just, Carol, when she first started the presentation, you were just coming in. Did you understand why we're trying to do this? Because of the ESL program? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't know if you had heard that, and so that was
Hear
the
it in the
reason.
bathroom
Wherever you were.
or wherever we were.
Okay, just wanted to make sure you understood that.
We
it
absolutely
because of
understood it, and I
ESL.
actually like that. That's why I started with that, complimenting that. I just wanted to make sure, if we do approve this, that they get those other
Sure,
support
and we'll talk about
services.
notification and all that kind of at the end. And again, we've been working jointly for multiple years with this program with elementary CNI and our elementary admin team and Mr. Galindo and our transportation folks to really look at strategically how can we best serve this community. And so we're trying to bring you our best work at this point. We'll circle back to travel distances, just as T brought you at the middle school. We tried to pull an address from each of these areas, and our transportation routing department gives us travel distances. And again, a lot of that's tight geography, but we'll show you. So if you're in the area A, and that was the area that was the yellow on the map that was moving in this proposal from McDermott to Thornton. They currently travel 0.63 miles to McDermott and 2 miles to Thornton. That is probably one of the largest increases in travel distance at 1.42 miles. But again, we're impacting a fairly small number. There's 41 students living in that community, or those communities at this point in time. And there are multiple routes you can travel when Prue Road is finished. They can go Prue Road and down. They can cut through all of Oakwood, or Oakland Estates areas. They can come down Huebner and up and around. And I'll be honest, I don't know which route transportation chose, but there are multiple routes. Area B, which was the green area on your map, recommended to move from McDermott to Rhodes. They chose one of the communities there. They travel 1.75 miles to McDermott. It would be 1.25 miles to Rhodes, so an improvement of about a half a mile. In the area C, it was an area from McDermott to Oak Hills Terrace Elementary School in this proposal. Those families currently travel 2.87 miles to McDermott and would travel 1.68 miles to Oak Hills Terrace, so that is an improvement. And again, that's one of the communities in the kind of center of that area, if you will, but they're all pretty tightly clustered. And then area D, the gold area on your map, was the area that we recommended from Rhodes into Thornton. And currently to Rhodes, they travel 1.08 miles, and they would travel 1.85 miles to Thornton. And I can tell you, we drove that area. Some of those areas are going to see improved travel distance, and some of them will have an increase depending upon which end of that geography they're on. Go to the next slide, please. And then the Meade attendance area travel distances, the area E, which was the pink area on the map where the proposal was to move from Meade into Colonies North, from the Aristo Medical Apartments. They currently travel 0.9 miles to Meade and 1.12 miles to Colonies North. So just a very slight increase. And then area F, they chose two different areas from that purple area, recommended to move from Meade into Glen Oaks. The Vintage Apartments would see an increase from about a mile to just over 2 miles. The flats at Oak Hills Apartments would go from 1.7 miles to 1.93 miles. So again, a very slight increase. All of these areas that we're looking at are students are currently eligible for transportation, and they would continue to be eligible for transportation. But again, the goal is have them on a shorter bus ride just in their community school and not across to other schools. And the next slide is the same thing in the areas from recommended to move out of Meade into Colonies and Glen Oaks. Those students are all eligible for transportation and would continue to be eligible for transportation. Per your board's policy, any of the students involved in this boundary change that are rising fifth graders next year would be given the grandfather option to finish their fifth grade year at their current elementary school. That the district policy states that the family would be responsible for transportation, and younger siblings are not included in that policy. It's just those rising fifth graders. And that concludes this. To talk a little bit about the hearings, you want to talk a little bit about how the model will
next
be?
steps, we, no board action actually for tonight, really, we just bring this to you as first presentation. We will begin to communicate with first SBAC committee next week, then as well as with the schools, and then working on a video to put out to the affected communities and any other communication that we need to have, working with the school principals, and then ultimately having the hearings on the campus based on anything and everything they need, Dr. Duran, as far as language and translations and so forth, so that we answer any and all questions we have, and the hearing being the last, if you will, kind of venue if they have questions to come and ask. So November, I believe, yes, November, we're looking to bring the middle school for your approval, and then December, the elementary, so that this is all in place for January.
And so we'll hold 5 public hearings in November. So we'll go to each of the elementary schools and have the public hearing so that, again, it's closer to where they're residing.
Thanks.
All right. Yeah, this is discussion. Any, is that what kind of, Trustee Freeman?
Mr. Galindo, would you get with Ms. Guerra and put in our, perhaps on our calendar when these hearings are going to be? At what time for the middle schools as well as the elementary schools?
Good idea.
Yes, ma'am, we have all of those tentatively set up, and after tonight, we'll put those all in one list for you, including the middles, as you requested. We can do that. Okay. Mr. Blunt,
Thank you.
Dr. Kraft, thank you.
That was a lot. Thank you very much
That's
for
good. Thank you.
listening through those. Good evening.
All right, that's good. So we'll go ahead and now we'll shift over to our superintendent area, starting with our discussion internal audit program.
Yes, sir. So, not to belabor this, we've had this conversation a couple times, I know. Contextually speaking, as you recall, the internal audit, either position, department, and/or program, by law, must report directly to the Board of Trustees. And so, in our last Finance Committee meeting, the conversation came up. We had posted the Director of Internal Audit, I want to say back in the spring, maybe even last fall. And in my apologies, at Finance Committee, the last time I had checked, we had 3 applicants. We've since had additional applicants. So we have 19 applicants for this position. It was left open, and so it's been open for quite some time. But before you're asked to play a role in the interview process, because again, this position will need to report to the board. You have another option, which I know we had briefly discussed in regards to contracting internal audit services out to a third party, which you can still do. And I think that the real question, at least that really resonated from Finance Committee, is what is the function, what do you envision really the primary responsibility or responsibilities of the internal auditor and maybe assistant director if it is a Northside ISD employee or a third-party, i.e. vendor, that can be procured through an RFQ process. What do you envision in seeing the role of your internal auditor being? And the reason I say this is really important because a district employee, again, reporting directly to you as Board of Trustees, can provide a variety of functions. We mentioned looking at activity accounts or other types of programs if they have that level of expertise. Whereas a third party through, like say, an RFQ process would be really more an overall program review. And it would be really on the basis of a risk assessment that would be done initially. And then, per your direction as a collective body, we would like to see this department or this program fully audited. They would go about acquiring specialty services or individuals that in most cases have had experience working in those departments to conduct that full-on audit and then providing a report back to the Board of Trustees. So I say all this because, like I say, we've created the position, which I believe you have a copy of the position posting in your board docs. What we have not done yet is launched a formal RFQ for, like I say, a third-party vendor services. We can do both. If you'd like to see what vendors and the kind of services, and when I say program overview, we can ask them for these credentials, and that would provide you the opportunity, either they're at the next Finance Committee or another committee, to review that as an option. You could go ahead and, upon your direction, we'll look at the 19 applications and try to put together a criteria for you to consider in interviewing that position, or you could do a combination of the two. You notice this is a really soft recommendation simply because this position, this is truly a function of the board. So it would not be really appropriate for me to recommend either one direction or the other. Rather, here are some pros or cons and what I feel like that we're positioned at this point to be able to do. We have 19 applicants, and that would be like on the internal aspect or side. And then we have an RFQ that we can easily be ready to put on the street and go about soliciting for services that are more programmatic review.
So what I understood to be, what we had discussed several times was that the internal audit position, that we would consider both, and that the internal audit was to oversee or that making sure that everything was properly managed and safeguarding our programs. And then if there was a flag and it was out of the area of expertise of our employee, that they can say, maybe recommend that we look at it and then do the RFP process for certain programs, because to your point, they're very specific, and we're not gonna find an auditor that can do it all, that we
Right.
could, but it would be very
I think that's gonna be
hard
pretty
for the
challenging.
cost, right, for what we're able to pay at this time, that it would be a cost savings to do a combination of both. That's what my understanding was.
And I think that the only caveat, and I agree, I think that the only caveat is of the applicants that we have acquired, we'll need board participation in that process. Of course, Ben Muir can help facilitate it through HR services. if you don't find the individual that has the qualifications, minimum qualifications to fill this role, then I think that you'll need to be prepared to look at a full-blown RFQ for program audit services. That's the only little caveat. And like I say, I was glad to see that we actually have more than 3 applicants, because we hadn't had much interest up to now.
Okay, Trustee Sir.
My concern with going with an external instead of internal is that I think when we first talked about it, we said that could become very costly.
It could.
Because they could charge you per audit
And they
that
likely
you
will.
ask.
Yeah.
Whereas if we have our own, then the cost, we already know what the cost is gonna be because of their salary, whatever the salary would be. And then, and I agree with what Carla was saying, that if there was some area that we wanted audited and we felt like they told us, you know what, this is not as good as it should be, well, then we could make the decision, and right now, with the way our finances are, we wouldn't be able to say, well, let's put it out for a bid. So at this point, I feel like
It's not a bid. Let me make sure I'm really, so it wouldn't be a competitive bidding process. This is for services. So it's a request for qualifications, similar to attorney services. You would be hiring a third party is, well, you'd be hiring based on their qualifications that you feel like that they bring to the district. So it wouldn't be a competitive bid, hard bid process.
I guess what I mean by competitive bid is we'd have to then go out and look to see which company
Yeah,
would.
you'd probably need to go through an interview process
Yeah.
that would entail them bringing proposals, so that you could interview and select the best firm, if you get to that point. So what I'm hearing, though, is this is helpful. We want to go ahead and work with HR, which we'll start. No?
Well, there was 2 people that I think that spoke, so maybe we need to.
Yeah, go right, yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Trustee Zion, why don't you?
That's why we're
finish,
having
and
the
then
conversation.
Trustee Freeman? Or trustee somebody. Yeah, go ahead.
One of the things we would need to consider also, I think we might have mentioned it at the meeting, the committee meeting, is perhaps having additional auditors, not just a director, but also, maybe 2 or 3
We also,
auditors.
yeah, exactly. We also have an assistant director job description already ready to go, and actually budgeted. But we would want to, I think we'd want to hire this director position before we go about trying to hire the assistant. Because the assistant will really work for that director of audit.
There's just so many programs, audit programs, right, that they,
And the director would be the individual that would, in essence, report directly to the board.
Correct.
Not assistant director or clerical staff or.
That is correct.
At our last finance committee meeting, the thought that, and please correct me, I know there were a couple of us there, so correct me if I misunderstood. At the time, we knew that we had these 3 people at the time, and there was a reason why with those particular 3 people, there were no interviews that were conducted. And our assumption was that perhaps we need to either continue to open it back up or do something else. I think one thing we did discuss, though, is the advantage of actually having some sort of risk assessment, because as long as I've been on the board, we haven't done
Used to.
Excuse me, Bobby?
Go ahead.
I don't remember us doing such a risk assessment. I don't remember that. So I think there's some advantage for us to do something like that. And that, please correct me if I'm wrong, that would require us to go out for the to go look at an RFQ, to have somebody do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you were to find an independent auditor that had the skill set to be able to conduct a risk assessment, not necessarily. I think that would be a point in case. That would be a great interview question. I mean, that would begin to tell you, about the qualifications of the individual pretty quickly. Well, more familiar with the process of a risk assessment being pretty comprehensive, inclusive of a lot of interviews, including trustees, staff, superintendent, cabinet members, even teachers, and just depending on the program. So it can be a pretty intense process. In fact, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibilities that a full-blown risk assessment could be a 6-month process.
And just to be clear, because there'll be people looking at this meeting, we have some people here, but perhaps some people looking at the meeting. When we talk about risk assessment, we're not making any accusations.
No,
that
right.
Anybody is
It's more for growth and improvement.
correct. So I just think we need to make that.
Yeah, and really, that's the real benefit of a internal audit program is it being incorporated as part of the continuous improvement process. Not a gotcha.
And the committee was very clear on that we're concerned about. We want to make sure that that's clear to our employees.
Any other, yeah.
Yeah, I had a question real quick, and I'm just piggybacking a little bit on what Corinne was asking. If we did, and we're talking about the other option is to do contracted services, right?
Right.
If we did that, isn't there a little more control over the amount of money that we could potentially spend, because the devil would be in the details of that contract? And so is there a way that it could be looked at that way so that it would be much more financially feasible for us to explore that way of doing things than a set salary?
Yeah,
for
so
someone
the
who may be
way
limited?
that would be presented, if you ask them for a full risk assessment, then they would be able to put estimates associated with, say, each program.
Right.
Some programs are going to be obviously a little bit more intense. I'll give you an example. If you're looking at a full-blown special education department or curriculum instruction, or that's going to be a little bit more intensive work than a purchasing or payroll department. So it just kind of depends on really the breadth of the work that's going to have to be conducted. But going through, like I say, the risk assessment, there would be a prioritization of recommended audits, and then you would be able to select, either approve or decline, 1 or 2 programs a year. That's usually about the norm, just simply because the bandwidth is not there otherwise. And I'll give you an example. We would budget $200,000 annually for programmatic audits as part of just the overall audit plan. That was after a risk assessment had been conducted. And I don't even want to, I want to say maybe a risk assessment was $35,000 or $40,000 independently contracted. Don't hold me to that number, but it's an estimate, I think.
And with just with contracted services, you also go out on an RFQ.
RFQ, absolutely, because it's
Even
professional
though
services.
we don't know, okay.
And I say that you don't necessarily have to put out an RFQ to contract professional services. Excuse me, it's not a bid, so you can't talk. Well, what would this cost and what would that cost? I mean, you're working to hire purely on value that they bring to the district and qualifications.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
what if, and getting where you're trying to get to, Dr. Kraft, is.
I don't know where I'm trying to get to, Mr. Blunt. I'm going to be honest. I'm trying to get to where you want me to get to. Yeah.
Well, I have a suggestion. We're good with probably 19. What if, and I don't mind, why don't we just review the 19 as a board, call them meetings, whatever, one of our meetings, whether it be finance or whatever, and we just go through, see where we are.
Okay.
Say, hey, it looks like, this person could do the management and other trade-offs, or now we don't have anybody there, then we need to go the RFQ, or et cetera, type route. But what if we went through them as just this board, the 19th.
We'll have to have a quorum if it's going to be
Oh, yeah.
a regular
Oh,
board
it'd
meeting
be regular board
versus a
meeting. Call-
policy
Yeah, call meeting or something.
committee meeting.
Yeah.
Is there, let's say we couldn't make it, is there a way we could still look at them and give them?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I mean, we send them, I assume we can get sent out all 19 to everybody, correct? As long as we don't communicate about them until we get to the meeting time
I believe we can.
and get your, yeah.
That's not usually the way, though, that if we don't have a board meeting,
We would have a meeting.
I know, but if a person wasn't here at the board meeting, then how would we bring that person into that conversation?
Well, they wouldn't be able to be a part of the conversation. They'd be able to review the applications, but there wouldn't be
Right.
an
That's
input
correct. So
unless they
I
were at
guess
the meeting.
Speaking to Carol's
Yeah.
point, though, if somebody couldn't be here, it's not,
You'd be able to see the applications, but yeah.
Right, that's it.
We would have open meeting
Yeah.
concerns.
Right.
Otherwise, if there was input or feedback provided.
so I guess my question about well, it would still be something like in Friday letter under confidential.
Board docs.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, we need to refrain from
Well-
communication
Oh, yeah.
outside of a.
Yeah. But
public
remember,
meeting.
it's gonna be a multiple process anyway. So, we'll probably, whatever, narrow down, whatever, and then that gives more opportunity for everybody to participate if they can't make one. It's not gonna be just one meeting, I guarantee that.
Okay, I'll work with Ben and HR and Monica, and we'll start moving that direction. At least for review. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll talk about bad? You want to talk about bad?
Oh, yeah. Is that what it is?
Bad.
No.
Bear Appraisal District, it's bad. Okay, so it's nomination time. I had a conversation with Dave Gannon. He consequently actually chaired the Bear Appraisal District this past year. So as a result of the recent legislation change, if he is willing, if you'd like to nominate him, now this is not voting, but this is just opening it up to nominations. You have a resolution in your board docs that we've used previously, and so this would be an opportunity to make a nomination.
Comments or questions? Is there, yeah, go ahead, Trustee Freeman?
I move that we nominate Dave Gannon again for this position.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, to move second, we nominate Dave Gannon. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Good. Motion carries.
Okay. We'll have that submitted before the deadline, which is, I believe, October 15th, if I remember correctly.
And then future agenda items.
All right. Next meeting, called meeting we have scheduled is the 22nd of October. We'll present the School Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas, or FIRST report. Our finance department has scored a 98, not to have a spoiler alert, but 98 out of 100 points. So
What are those two?
we're going to talk about the 2 points. It has to do with debt ratio. So, we'll have a few facility items, a budget amendment number 1, believe it or not, for fiscal year '25. We will need to take a look at the leadership Northside nominations. So we'll take a look at that. If you have nominations, please get them to us so that we can start formulating the second cohort. And then I'm sure there'll be some other agenda items forthcoming prior to the 22nd for sure.
A real quick question. Do the principals also nominate, I mean, is there another nomination source, or it strictly comes from us?
Strictly comes from you as
Okay,
trustees.
just as a reminder, so, but we can talk to principals that.
Sure.
Okay. And it could come from anywhere in the district. It doesn't have to be on District 6 or wherever you're elected from. It can
I'm
be-
trying to remember. I think we do have it drawn up in the application process, which I believe you have a copy of it in your folders. They need to come from your district,
Okay,
this particular, because we're trying to make sure that we're well represented.
I got you.
Well,
across the school district.
last year I nominated Jonah. He wasn't in my district. He was just a student we had seen at Clark do a presentation.
And we don't have it in policy or procedure, or is it in procedure, Nicole? We just, yeah, this is y'all's ability to
Not now.
nominate. We just
Well,
want to
I'm
be.
okay if I have a John J. person to give it to
Yeah, you can give it.
David or whatever. I
Jay.
kind of like that anyway, just so that then we could say we have a really good balance.
Well, that's the really the
So I guess,
objective is we just want to make sure we're balanced across the district
yeah,
geographically.
I like that. I gave you Jonah.
Gave her Jonah.
I'm joking.
We're both wanting credit for Jonah.
We helped raise him.
All right, so, oh, go ahead. No, I'm sorry. You good? Oh, okay, okay. So it sounds like, yeah, the objective is to, within our, the one time we looked at
Do
it this year,
we,
but the
are we
other-
going to do student voice this year? Do we have any dates? Okay,
We'll be sending them shortly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We will be engaging students again.
Same menu.
The other thing I was gonna bring up, and Trustee Freeman's got, remember, are there any other committees that we need to make a push for right now? Are we good on, the shack? Are we good on the other ones that we
Oh,
typically have
good
at the
point.
beginning of the year?
NEIC,
NEIC.
Dennis, are we good on?
Okay,
I think we're okay. Shack was just recently brought forward.
yeah, so we're good on.
I think we're okay.
Balancing, okay, good.
We need a couple members for rezoning.
Oh, rezoning, but that, don't y'all usually, now trustees don't hardly do that one,
The board
rezoning
does
one,
not
right?
appoint.
But that brings up a good suggestion, though, in a way. Janice, I guess we could do our own email searches, but I bet you have a list of all those people we've nominated for NEIC in the past that have wanted to serve this. Maybe we could refresh and relook at that, and maybe Shaq too, to see if there's someone on there that we want to consider for leadership Northside.
Absolutely.
Thanks, and Friday letter would be a great place, or however you want to do it.
You bet.
Thank you.
Is there a key number that we're looking at for Leadership Northside? I think we've talked about this before, but
This
there
last
is-
cohort, we had, I think, 15. I'm sorry, Karen, I didn't mean to.
No, but there is a magic, you don't want it too
Too
large.
big, right.
And so I guess I would like some sort of number between, well, like, what are we looking for? Are we looking for 4 apiece, 5 apiece?
Nicole, how many do we have in this last cohort?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We nominate them, they say yes, and then they'll go to 1 or 2 meetings and realize they can't handle coming, every month.
So to that
So they
point-
dropped out.
To that point, then do we nominate, do we go more
Over-nominate?
than 3 or 4? Do we do 4 or 5 so that we do have a good number?
You having what? 100% graduation. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, that's,
There you go.
yeah, let's
I
do
think-
3 or 4. Y'all got, pick people that are gonna stay.
I seriously, I
3 or
think,
4.
I think you're very safe with 4, and if we'll be able to accommodate.
Yeah.
We'll make it work.
Okay, any other, on the, Trustee Freeman?
Just a suggestion for a future agenda item. October 9th is, it's been designated as Texas Human Resource Day. And this board, I know that we do have a priority that we submitted to TASB regarding recruitment and retention of employees. And I just wonder if it would be an advantage, and I'm asking the board, would you all consider an option to have a resolution that we could carry to legislatures when we meet with our Texas delegation before the legislative session, something to have in hand to emphasize the fact, we had a presentation in Finance Committee of a history of our salaries and what we've done with salaries over the years in the past. That was included in Friday Letter, by the way, at the bottom of Friday Letter. So I think it's a handy reference for us. But as we looked at salaries, and we know as we're going in the future, we didn't get any new money the last time around. So I just wonder about a resolution that talks about support for not only teacher recruitment and retention, but we've looked at our auxiliary staff as well. So thoughts?
I like it.
We can definitely draw it up and bring it in for your review. I think it'd work well in conjunction with HR Recognition Day.
Just
I think it's October 9th.
something to have in hand so that when we do the capital visits and all of that, this board, I guess the question I would ask is, what do we say? I mean, in lieu of, obviously, it's increased dollars.
I've got some draft
Okay.
language.
We, you know, it's interesting thinking when you're talking. Is a lot, I keep you out of history, but I will say this one. Definitely support the idea, because I think what we can actually do also is if we do it first as North Side, we can share it with our fellow districts. But when the coalition started out, we did something like that per se, but we actually went further than that. We actually looked to say, hey, we're actually representative of the state within San Antonio. You got from Alamo Heights, we got whatever, across the board, Edgewood, Alamo Heights to Northside, et cetera. And we actually wrote a point paper to back that up, to say, hey, this is what we think would solve the financial situation for all of us as opposed to any one district, et cetera. We did a resolution then too. I have to look to see if I can find it. But either way, I think it's a very good idea.
And I think to include in our North Side piece is that we had that 89% of our 89% of our revenue goes to salaries, which is the highest that we have ever been in Northside. And I know we've talked about the magic 90%, that it's really certainly not recommended to hit that 90% mark, because we do have other things that we need to support.
I would like us to have a resolution or something similar so that when we go talk to our legislators in Austin, we can actually hand it to them and say, this is from the Northside School District.
Yeah, I think
You
you
know,
do
I
both.
know that we're gonna go and speak on behalf, but we need something to say representing us.
And
I think you do both, to be honest. I'm sorry, because we definitely sit on the north side, but I think it also has a lot more power to say, and in addition, this helps solve for all of us, because the legislature's got to consider everybody per se.
Yeah, and
Oh, go ahead.
no, I agree with everything everyone said. I also think that in my discussions, I really think, I love resolutions, but I also love ones that have solutions in
Yeah,
them.
exactly.
So, it's nice to have a resolution, but let's be very specific about some actionable steps they can take and combine both.
agreed.
So I don't know if that's still a resolution, but there's not one definition of resolution. It could be our resolution. And it could help other districts see that as well. So something along those lines.
I agree. Dr. Kraft, you had provided me with some speaking points, so I think we can utilize that,
absolutely.
to
Yeah,
send the
those were-
message.
That was part of our advocacy agenda.
Exactly.
So we can incorporate that. Like I say, I've got some draft language already in the works, so.
So we said that's a future agenda item, so what do we do? We said we want to have that done by the next board meeting? Because you mentioned October 9th, so.
Yeah.
I don't know how we could have that.
I think if I'm not mistaken, the month of October is actually HR Recognition Month, if I remember reading it correctly. So,
And I think the earlier the better.
Oh, yeah.
I like October, even though it's the scary month or whatever, but
we'll add it to the 22nd.
it kind of goes together.
Okay, yeah, that'd be good. Okay.
I like the idea of both also, to drafters and then help any
Others?
And the coalition is very strong right now, so that makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
Everybody's hurting right now.
Yeah,
Always have been.
The only one.
I know.
Okay, any other, I had one other one, I guess it's future agenda item. I think our visits last year, was that last year?
The departmental visits?
If that doesn't wear staff down for us to come out, or if y'all don't, I think it'll be good. I mean, we went to go some other transportations, to go
Yeah.
some other whatever. I think those are really good.
With our polo shirts.
Yeah, I do.
Programs want us
Yeah,
to come.
yeah, you know what I'm talking about, just our different visits out to whatever, different departments and all, yeah, just to go out. No, not to all, no, I'm a local person. No, here in San Antonio, to go out and see our different departments and staff, see how the guy in the freezer is doing. You know, I think literally that guy, I'll never forget that guy. But anyway, all right, so maybe,
Yep, we'll work on a schedule, and proposed schedule, and we'll bring that in for discussion.
okay. Anything else? All right, then, okay, so we'll actually complete this part of the open session, and we'll be coming back out again, but we'll go ahead and we're gonna be going into our closed meeting now. So, beginning at, we say 9:25, 7 minutes from now, we'll convene in closed meeting according to Texas Government Code, sections of 551 as listed. Discussion takes place on items that were listed. All right, so Board of Trustees begin at 10:40, convening back in open meeting. Are there any items to come before the board? Trustee Freeman?
Mr. Blunt, I move to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and the school's attorney and direct the superintendent and the school's attorney to proceed as discussed in closed session concerning student versus Northside Independent School District before a special education hearing officer for the state of Texas, docket number 284-SE-0424.
Okay, is there a motion? Is there a second? Okay. Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, state nay. Okay, good. Motion carries. Any others regarding the appointments?
I move that we accept all appointments as discussed in executive session.
I second.
All right, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Now, it's been moved and seconded that we approve all the appointments. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, state nay. All right, thank you all. So at 10:41, the meeting ended.